Would you like to come use the restroom? It was just so.
They're allowing you in.
I'm not a vampire.
See, here's the double standard. If you said that to her, that's immediately a creepy story. You want to come in and use the restroom? Like, what the fuck? No. But her saying that to you, it's like, go, piss now.
I can only imagine the disappointment on her face when you said that. Everybody, welcome to Root Advice. This episode's going to be a little different because I wanted to try something else. I love the Joe Rogan podcast and a few others, and there's always this breakout episode where they just have their friends come over and they're just bullshitting, hanging out. Sometimes they're watching like an MMA watch-along companion thing. I just wanted to invite my friends, good friends of mine that I trust, and just kind of break the mold a little bit, just to kind of give you like an insight on like what we like, what's fun, and who I trust and who's in my inner circle. So without further ado, guys, who are you? Let's start with Mr. Leach over here.
Well, Rudy and I met at a sex party in San Antonio. So. No.
Yes.
My name's Cody Leach. You can find me on YouTube using that name. That's the name of my channel. So fairly well-known movie reviewer, movie critic.
Don't be modest.
Like that term.
Son of a bitch.
That's me. That's me.
He's famous and he's on Rotten Tomatoes doing conventions with other YouTubers. So yeah, Mr. Chingon over there. And Mr. CP?
CP, otherwise known as Charles Patterson, professional comedian, writer extraordinaire. And I do YouTube stuff sometimes.
Yeah.
and if my voice is hoarse or if I take moments, it's because I had 2 wisdom teeth yanked the day before yesterday, and it's
God! Why didn't you tell me? Oh, you did tell me.
I did.
You shit. Yeah, that's oh my God! And now
shows how much he gives a fuck about what you say. Why'd you tell me?
One of the things going on, right? God. So seriously, dude, if you feel bad or anything, just let me know, or just give me a sign, and we'll just kind of.
I got my beverages handy. It's all right.
Eventually, if you're friends with CP long enough, you just get numb to the problems. You're just like, yeah, I know you got pain, you're fucking miserable, whatever. Just like show up on Friday.
Yeah.
I've got a like rewards card for the hospital, so it's like every time.
One more stamp.
Another stamp.
And though for those who are listening, CP and Cody have been friends for quite some time, even before me. Like I'm new to their circle and their jokes and everybody. So I a couple years, maybe a year and a half that I've known you guys, where I was like allowed in your space, and we kind of all hit it off. But so they've known each other quite some time. So all these things, CP apparently has like the worst luck ever. I love you, man, but son of a bitch, there's like every month there's something going on. You got this dark cloud of rain.
CP carries ladders under ladders.
There's something. And I remember like when I was new to this, and it was like month after month, after like 8 months of the same shit. Like I messaged Cody. I'm like, Cody, is he okay? Like, what's going on? He's already it's the same shit. He's been doing the same thing for like 5 years. You know, you get
people
used
play
to it.
Baseball.
He'll live
like balls. I play with mirrors. I just.
But we love you, and I was concerned. That's why I reached out to Cody. I was like, is this a thing? Like, what's going on, man?
Yeah, no, I don't take care of myself as far as health is concerned.
Oh my God.
But CP was my nickname for decades, and well before 4chan and the internet and all that shit made those 2 initials stand for something else. I just want that to be clear. I was named that well before Twitter.
What?
Damn it.
Okay.
You do know what CP is slang for?
No.
Rhymes with mild corn.
We're not live anywhere, so you can say whatever you want. So it's a podcast.
Oh, it says live in the top corner.
No, it doesn't. We're not live. It's connected to any channels.
Oh,
it's just recording.
It's just recording internally. Yeah. So we're not live.
Yeah. It stands for child.
Oh my God.
Well, what? You gave me the clear. You want me to say it or not?
Jesus Christ, man. That's the furthest thing I was thinking. I was thinking C3PO or something. I don't know, but God, I didn't even go there, man.
It's been hard
Corporal
because we've called
punishment.
him CP 9 times out of 10 for years, and now he's like slowly starting to transition out of that name, and we're making it impossible because I never call him Charles.
Oh my God.
I figured out that those initials kind of, it's not like they get shadow banned, but YouTube makes it really hard to find.
Yeah, you'll get flagged pretty easily. So, okay, well, now if we're calling you CP, so I guess we'll figure it out. Man.
Charles, CP, same shit. Just they're my initials.
Okay. And again, I met Cody. Like I've known him, like I said, for about maybe 2 years now. But again, through YouTube, I've told my story plenty of times where like I got divorced, all the friends left, all that sad story, and I decided to go to YouTube and just do movie reviews. And my channel never got really huge. I'm at 8,000 subscribers on that space, but I got to meet people. It's funny how when you put yourself out there, you would think the internet would come back and retaliate and attack you and call you all these names. But there's like this brother and sisterhood out there of creators who want to help you and, collaborate with you. And that's how I started meeting people. There's Sean, there's Zach Pope, and there's Griffin. There's a whole bunch of other people out there that have just blown up and doing the great things. And that's how I met Cody. I think it was a Resident Evil collaboration that started our love affair. And then Metal Gear. Yep, there you go. That was how we got together. Then he introduced me to CP. Now here we are, like 2 years later. And now I wish I can share our text thread on what we talk about sometimes.
I don't.
Yeah. Then they'll think my initials stand for that for a specific reason.
Oh God,
good Lord!
What was that?
Nothing.
Before this live, guys, I was on TikTok, and that space of men I've been telling you guys about, the MGTOW movement of men just giving up on women, giving up on relationships, just wanting to be alone. And the MGTOW movement is men going out on their own. Like they're just totally forgetting about the traditional.
Wait, I'm sorry. I have to show my ignorance.
Okay.
MGTOW?
It's an abbreviation for men going out on their own. It's like they've given up on the traditional relationships and getting married. They think the court system's rigged against them because they lose everything. They get divorced. They hate modern women. They hate society. And they're just going about on their own. So, misery loves company, right? So there's like this huge pull.
They're like the Grinch.
Exactly. But now it's evolving to this. Get this. These guys are saying that, since you don't appreciate men, we're going to go leave you. But you know what? When the apocalypse comes and the World War III starts, then you're going to need us men. So now you have a community of fucking adult men who are hoping for the fucking apocalypse in World War III. So now the barbarian men will come back and now you need us now,
We must stop these orgasms from coming.
Yes. Give me your pelts. They want that shit. And that's what they're preaching. They're hoping for that. They're hoping for World War III. They're rooting for the whole Ukraine-Russia war, dude. It's fucking horrible.
I guarantee.
And I'm not kidding.
I guarantee most of them, if you look at them too, you're like, yeah, you ain't gonna protect shit.
Yeah. But it's pretty sad. I was listening to that.
It's weird. Why wouldn't they just hook up with trad wives on TikTok?
What are those?
See, I know some things. I don't know all things. It's a community of women who are like 50s women, like anti-feminist, if you will. They want to stay home.
My husband type.
Right.
Mm-hmm. There is.
You have a link. You have a.
There is. I've seen that.
Get your own.
It's so weird. It's so weird that there's this community of, like you said, these women who are adopting that old nuclear family lifestyle. Like I'm going to serve my husband. I'm going to be a submissive wife and do what he says. To love, honor, and obey. Mm-hmm. They're bringing that back, but the caveat is you have to be a man with a good job and good income. Because if you don't want your wife to work, you need to be bringing in some money, especially if you have a family. I mean, think about it. The average income, you would need to at least make over 90, 100,000, depending on where you're living, to be able to let your wife stay home.
In New York, you need 6 figures at least.
I squashed the shit out of that within like 2 months of dating my wife. She brought up being a stay-at-home mom. I was like, yeah, you can go ahead and forget that shit.
Like you're in, I'm not gonna say your city, but you're in Georgia, right? So what is like a family, how much would a guy need to make annually to be able to keep a wife, support her and the kids, have money for trips, clothes, all that stuff? Like what would it be the annual income?
I mean, unless you're gonna like really be frugal, 100 grand a year.
Really? Okay, that's not too bad.
Yeah. I mean, it just depends on what the living conditions are. Are you going to live in a smaller house? Are you going to live in an apartment? Are you going to have 2 vehicles? Are you going to have babysitting, or is the wife doing all of that? I mean, I don't know. There's a lot of factors.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Those extra mouths, fucking costly.
Yeah. And the medical expenses and all that. So now you have a lot of men who say they want traditional wives, but they don't have no career. So I know what you want, but you can't afford it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's weird. I see I'm aware of the incel community, and it sounds very similar, if I do say so.
Yeah.
And they know what they want, and they're pissed off because what they want doesn't like them. And it's like, what do you think? You're some sort of fucking catch? You gotta like this. You got to work at this. It's not just, I showed up. I treat you nice. I say you look beautiful, dude. This isn't the 30s. Like, you know, you're going on like 1950s Breakfast at Tiffany's style chivalry, and that's not the way it happens anymore. You have to, you know, women, especially American women, are a bit more shallow.
And
don't
you know
hold
what?
The door for me. Hold my safe door for you, motherfucker.
And you know, it's funny you say that, because a lot of people agree with that. They say Western women aren't worth a shit. They aren't worth the squeeze. That's why a lot of guys are getting passports so they can go to other countries and get obedient traditional women.
Yeah.
So, and I'm doing the quotation marks. They think that's going to work for them. So, and
I wouldn't call Emily I wouldn't call Emily obedient, but we got our shit pushed in during COVID, and my first wife would have had a canary at some of the struggles we had, but Emily and I grew closer with the struggles we had financially. That's awesome. It was, you know, it was quite a breath of fresh air. It's nice to know that not every female is, you know.
I always think back to the Eddie Murphy Raw, where he goes, I'm going to go to Africa and get me a little bush chick. So don't let her hang out with American women. Half Eddie, half Eddie.
Unfufu, wasn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. Big ass boner lip.
And, you know, it's funny because like that may work. I mean, but if you had a shitty dating life here and you couldn't find any success with any woman, as multicultural as the United States is, have zero, you know, like experience or success, what makes you think you're going to have success in the other countries? Because if you didn't have success, it's probably you. And all these guys are just entitled assholes, like you said, CP. They think, oh, I'm a nice guy. That's enough.
Or they're targeting the wrong women. They're targeting the tens that are fucking shallow as hell and have no interest in anything serious and just want to, you know, slip up into a $2 million dick someday. And
if you just want to fuck a hot chick, go to Vegas, buy a prostitute, get it over with, because we all know your style of approach isn't going to work maintaining a girlfriend. You certainly don't have the charisma to go on a second date with a New York 4. So, you know, if that's all you're interested in is hot vagina, then just go pay for it.
Yeah.
Fuck.
And a lot of them they want those IG models, those 10s like Cody said, and they know they can't get them. And that's what makes them even angrier, because the competition to get them is like too extravagant. And, you know, it's not realistic. I know. And it's not even a prize. It's like a fantasy, but do you really want to date that? I've dated women, like 3 women who were that level hot, and it's a fucking pain in the ass, dude. It's a pain in the ass. I mean, they think they're entitled. They really don't put any efforts. It's all like a transactional relationship. I'm showing you off. I'm that guy with a hot woman, but yes, I have to pay for her and get her shit and constantly entertain her. It's too much. It's too much. And it's so superficial, and it runs its course, and it's not worth it.
Yeah.
It sucks.
I mean, I would suggest getting something a relationship like that out of your way early before you're 25, just so you have the experience. But I there's no chance I would. I mean, Cody and I have discussed this. I think when I was down there, that there's people that we've hung out with and spoken to where it's like, yeah, people think you're attractive, but I don't have the time for your fucking high maintenance bullshit.
When you get to a certain age, the internal beauty starts to factor into that 0 to 10 rating.
Yeah.
So a lot of the guys that only see the visual and everything else is just white noise is like 10, 9. And then you look and you're like 4.5. Ugh. Like,
I got news for you guys. The Instagram models, they're going to make noise when you're with them. So they might even say things and you may not like that. So then what?
Yeah. It's I think they just have to experience it themselves and just kind of get it out the way. Maybe it's the thought of the unattainable idea.
And look, there's no, I know it's difficult, but there is something to be said about being humble enough to improve yourself.
Oh yeah,
because I was at a point in my early 20s where I wasn't near the level of any of this, but I was frustrated with my quote unquote lack of success. And I'm just like, what the fuck is wrong with all of them? I'm a nice guy. I'm moral. I do all the shit that they say that they want. And eventually I just had to look inward and be like, okay, you know what? My confidence level isn't very high. I'm probably not the most approachable person. And then I got into much better physical shape, and shit, getting into really good physical shape and upping my confidence, those two things alone, I mean, all the problems I used to have went away. And suddenly I was the one being approached, and it was like almost turning the tables or whatever. And it shouldn't have to be that way, but it's gonna be. I mean, a lot of these guys are looking for the 9s and the 10s. So why would you expect that they're not looking for the most attractive dude in the room? Be the most attractive dude in the room.
Wait, Cody, hold up. You mean you vested time and improved yourself and got into shape and made yourself more marketable?
Fucking
and
weird,
you got results?
Yeah, I know. Strange.
Yeah, who would have fucking thought that?
Instantaneous results. I had a chick that never paid me any mind in high school that literally just sat down at a table that I was eating lunch at. Like just sat down without an invitation and just fucking invited herself and then gave me her number. I was like, this is a switch. Okay.
Hey, and I got another topic to come back to that point, but you brought up a good point. Were any of you the ugly fat kid growing up? Because I was.
I was heavy set whenever I was in,
or picked on,
probably like 5th and 6th grade. I was pretty heavy set. I was never like morbidly obese, but my grandma was a classic old school Southern grandma who loved to cook, and I've always been that kid that loves to eat. So
UCP, were you like the kid was bullied or exiled or just like
no? I was class clown. I bounced around
that makes
quite
sense.
a bit, so it was, I never really got close with people, so it was just.
You still don't.
Touche.
The reason I ask is because I was not really big. I mean, I wasn't like obese or anything like that. You remember the husky section kids had when you were growing up? That's like the large kid area. I was, and I had one eyebrow, and all these horrible things. But I went to Catholic school.
One eyebrow.
The puberty hit unibrow, yeah. And anyway.
You said one eyebrow, and I was thinking like the other half.
So
unibrow 20s to grow in. What the fuck? That's a story. Stop.
Did you fuck up the vanilla ice trim there?
Oh no! I wasn't that hit, man.
That shit where like you're trimming, and then somebody says your name, and you fucking turn your head.
That sounds like a Farrelly Brothers.
Unibrow is what I meant to say. That's actually funny.
It makes more sense now. I was just picturing you with one.
Dude, I heard the same thing. I was like, what?
Never heard of that. The kid with one eyebrow. Okay,
continue. that one dwarf over there. Anyway. I was like that throughout school up until maybe sophomore year. And I went to Catholic school where the class size was maybe 40, 35. So it was always small. And I was always the guy who didn't have a girlfriend, right? I was not, I couldn't hook up with anybody. Go around is what we called it. And I always saw myself that way. And it wasn't until I graduated high school and I was working at a bar where the hottest waitress in the bar, 25 years old, wanted to go out with me. I'm like, me? Seriously, me? I had like, why me? I don't deserve your attention. But that's when I first started noticing that I wasn't what I thought I was. and what everybody had told me. And still to this day, I still feel like that ugly fat kid sometimes.
Yeah,
It's not.
I can agree with that.
Though, man.
What?
It's not. It's. I mean, if you're in high school, if you're in your early 20s, I guess that might be the heaviest weighing factor. Excuse the pun, but looks don't really. Look, size, none of that stuff. It's just surface level. At some point, if you're going to, like, again, if you're just trying to fuck someone, fuck it and chuck it, that's one thing. But, you know, if you want to see if this person's compatible with you, what they're so they're going to eat, they're going to pick up after whatever you don't finish at dinner. That's what about the rest of the person?
Yeah.
The inside.
I think that's just the easiest like icebreaker. I think when people are looking and they're kind of trying to decide like, who do I even want to give a shot to? They usually go with looks first. Like we've all had, you know, women that you look at and you go right for them just because of their looks and you don't know nothing about them. And I've had a couple of women that I wasn't necessarily like super attracted to, but there was something about their personality after I actually met them that like sparked an attraction. And so it can go multiple ways, but people are visual. So I think most times people are just that's their instinct, just to go off of that first. When you know the fourth hottest dude in the bar might be the perfect guy, but they're going to go for the hottest dude first.
Yeah.
Yep. I mean, both genders are pretty shallow.
Oh yeah. I mean, we're programmed to be that way, for Christ's sake. I mean,
and it's usually like after I got those, like I said, I got the 10s out of my way. I started just looking, and of course we love beauty. Men are visual. I don't care what anybody says. I know a lot of women, even on TikTok, get upset when I say that, but no, we are visual. I mean, we don't want, you know, the Instagram models, but we do want some beauty to look at when we're at home. And I remember that I would go out, and I think Cody, you mentioned this earlier. A woman could be like a 10, but as soon as she opens her mouth, or she comes off like, you know, all entitled or just making faces, and, you know, she goes from like a 10 to like maybe a 4, while someone who's like, oh, she's kind of cute, but then you start talking to her and she's got a wonderful personality. She's making you laugh. She's getting all your jokes, and she plays video games, and now she's a 10. It's like, the character of a person makes everything. She loves Child's Play, whatever the fuck you guys like, or something.
Resident Evil 4 is awesome. I love you.
I love you, Mary. Let me give you my seed.
But yeah, no, as you get older, again, like, I mean, the rating system in and of itself is pretty shallow, but if we're going to stick to that, because that's the easiest thing to talk about, like when you get older, there's more than just looks that go into that.
Yeah, there's columns. There's different categories.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you have somebody that looks great, but they have a shit personality, or they're just extremely negative and everything. You're just like, whoa, like, nope.
Yeah, there's more to it, and again, you learn as you go on. Again, me being the oldest guy here, yeah, you look at the person and that how they make you feel. Like, it's funny, people will never remember exactly what you said, but they will always remember how you made them feel, and that's, I think a lot of people need to remember that. But you said you're 25 and, you know, you're dating, doing all those things. It's funny because with the other complaint a lot of young men are now having nowadays is that they can't compete because women, I'm talking young women in their maybe late teens, early 20s, are being courted by rich men because of social media, or they have a lot of options now. You don't even have to be sexy and putting, you know, ass booty photos on IG. You can just be an attractive woman, and your inbox is going to be flooded with the blue check marks and, you know, people of wealth. And a lot of young women, this younger generation, are now going to that. So a lot of young men are pissed because they don't have
really. Is it really a lot?
What's that?
Is it really a lot of women doing that?
Well, it's enough to where, like I said, you have these groups of men collecting, saying they've given up because they don't have a fighting chance.
Are they all in fucking LA or something? Like, what?
I know. Preach, man. I know exactly, because that made it be like a small percentage of people, like in those high metropolitan cities. But come on, not in
there might
San
be
Antonio.
2 in the state of Georgia that have that route even available. Yeah, I don't know. That's weird. That's continue describing it, but that just seems weird. It's like some Stepford Wives shit for me.
Yeah, if people are going on such shallow elements, I mean, I have somebody that could attest to this. I was in Denmark in a hospital, and there was a there was a.
Of course, you're in a hospital. Of course, yeah.
There was a thing between us, like a divider, and Dennis told me, Dennis, my friend from Denmark, he said the girl next door says your voice is attractive. And I'm like, I could be a fucking chud. She doesn't know what the hell I look like. She's just going on my voice.
I got that whenever I was in high school.
Yeah.
Really?
I worked in hotels and I would answer the front desk and say like, "Hey, welcome to Hawthorne Suites," blah, blah, blah. And so I worked, I transferred to a different hotel in the same little cul-de-sac area by the airport. And I had this guy that came in. He was a gay dude and he was just, talking to me, everything. He's like, "I worked at this hotel over here, and this girl, I remember your name because you used to answer the phone whenever we would check for all the vacancies, and she would always say that you had the sexiest voice." And I was like, "Really?" And then I noted when he said her name, I was like, I wondered why she called so many times during the day. Like usually we're supposed to call once. But yeah, I've had that. So go ahead. Sorry.
No, it's okay.
I mean, derail your story.
We're talking about whatever.
Like if you, as it gets warmer in New York City, if you have some form of an accent that isn't a New York accent, take a trip to New York, go to Times Square and just
talk.
Take your pick. Like, it's like the hot chick finals walking. Just there's 9s and 10s just going about their business on the sidewalks in the city, especially during the summer. So, play dumb. If you see one you like based on just what the book cover is, pardon me, ma'am, can you tell me where I can find a Subway? And
that damn building Spider-Man he's swinging out of all the goddamn time.
Oh God, I got so many rebuttals to that, but what are they? Well, first off, rebuttals, because again, I see like this, it's noise, because I don't believe it. And I'm glad you guys reacted the same way, because I truthfully believe a lot of young men are living through their phones. Like they're learning about women through social media, and what they're seeing are the viral
their idols are the worst people.
Yes, they are. So that's how they're learning. A lot of these young men don't have father figures because they're raised in single mother households. So they're looking for that male figure to look up to, like a big brother, and that's why they're going to like Tate and all these guys, and they're learning about women through the wrong examples.
Who's been arrested for sex trafficking? So good job there.
Yeah, but they don't know any better.
They're sitting in an echo chamber,
where
everybody just repeats the same shit over and over, and that becomes your world. That tiny little fucking igloo of hate.
And it's sad, man, because you can't, that's all they know. And they have zero life experience. And to your point, CP, you said, go up to a woman, just anybody. And like, how you doing, man? They will rebuttal and say, well, no, why am I going to go up to a woman? Because you know why? They're going to scream, I'm a creep, and scream sexual harassment. So you can't even approach women nowadays. You can't even open the door for them because they'll say that they're offended because they're feminists.
That's bullshit.
They're all just spewing viral video rhetoric. That's all they're doing.
Bullshit.
You're taking the extreme worst case scenario that maybe happened to one dude once, and you're making that the rule, and that's idiotic.
Thank you.
Yeah, you need to learn about social habits and interactivity too. Like, are you leering at her as you open the door? Like, are you being a fucking creep? Are you being Hannibal in the jail cell in Silence of the Lambs? Like what? Tell me about your body language that when you opened a door for a girl that she was creeped out. Like, I need more information than that, because that's not the way it works.
Yeah, I had a chick when I was trying to order a fucking sub at Jersey Mike's a couple of months ago that just kept making these like weird allusions to the size of my dick while she's making the sub with my wedding ring on. I'm not scared to walk into Jersey Mike's anymore because I'm like, they're all just going to talk about my cock. Oh my God. Like, it's just like, what the fuck?
The CP, I love what you said when they're layering. I don't know why I was just picturing like Crispin Glover or something like that.
Welcome.
Yeah. It's just like, you can blink, sir. You can blink,
I'm a nice guy. You're beautiful. Yeah, that'll get her. Yeah, good job, buddy.
Can you help me with this couch here?
Oh, would you?
You size 14 anyway.
Bad person.
But yeah, I agree. They don't have no life experience, and they're just going off that. And it's a shame because, again, when this goes up on the Root Device channel, it's the majority of the audience is young men, like 18 to 35, and they need to hear this shit. And I know this advice, believe it or not, everything you're saying, they'll call you a simp. They'll call you like, oh, you're a beta and all this. You have to be authoritative. You have to talk like
Labels for everything nowadays.
Yeah, it's so idiotic, man. And I'm like, God, I know you've never had original thought if that's all your frame of mind is working with, man. So come on. Mm-hmm. So it's crazy how it is out there for young men. And I know this is different for the movie space.
Simp for?
Because you're a gentleman, or you actually have rational thinking and you don't believe their rhetoric. It's like if you don't agree with their takes, you are a simp. You are against us.
Empathy. Human beings, we both have different wants and needs. Learn that.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
You'd make a great coach, man.
Listen, I wasn't looking, and I chasing Amy'd, my bisexual now wife.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And for those listening, CP's married, Cody's married, and I'm engaged, so I will soon be married. These guys, I guess I'm going to tell everybody because it's going to be out there, but I bought my fiance's engagement ring. So we're not engaged yet, but I'm just saying we're engaged. So I bought the engagement ring, and I'm trying to think of ideas to make it a big, event. And I think I'm kind of going through that analysis paralysis because she's not like that. She doesn't want fireworks and, all this bullshit or a plane to go by or a Zeppelin, something. She doesn't need all that. She's not like that. I'm just one.
Zeppelin. What the fuck year is
this? Fucking explodes.
Oh, the humanity.
Zeppelin. That's almost 100 years ago.
So I think
I'm gonna have the milkman put it inside the bottle.
Yeah, something like that. I don't know.
I proposed to my wife at Disney World. She's a Disney fanatic, so that was a very easy one for me. The only thing that was hard was picking the right moment, and it took me all fucking day to figure it out. So I was so goddamn nervous.
You or Mickey or like.
No, when I went there, and look, I was not nervous about her answer because at that point we had already lived together and had a kid together. Like there was no fucking chance. I could have given it to her at Taco Bell. It would have been a fucking yes. But I was at Disney, and my initial plan, because her favorite movie is the Little Mermaid, to get a Little Mermaid tattoo.
The white one, right?
Real one.
I'm kidding. Yeah.
I'm kidding. But my plan initially was to propose during the Little Mermaid ride, but you're in this seashell and you're going through this little animatronic quick little 5-minute version of the movie, but the fucking seashell kept jerking right and left. And so in my head, I just had this vision of me going, "Well, you've been," and it just goes somewhere. And so I was like, "Nope, not happening here." And then so I'm trying to think throughout the day of somewhere else to do it, and those ideas fell through. And then I realized that at the end of every night they have the gigantic fireworks show at the castle, and so I was like, "I'll just do it during the fireworks show." But then her fucking pain in the ass. She doesn't want it to be like public or anything like that either. She doesn't want to have like the whole like people taking pictures and shit. And so I was trying to like be cognizant of that. So I was like, "Hey, let's step back here while we watch the fire." "No, let's go up front. Come on." And I'm like, "Fuck." And of course she picks the spot while the fireworks are going on. We're right next to a trash can. And I'm like, I'm just looking at it. I'm like, I can't fucking propose next to a trash can. And so I had to wait for the fireworks to almost be over. And I was like, "Okay, let's get to the next ride before everybody goes." And then as soon as we got away from the crowd, I did it really quick. She said I was nervous all day and she could tell. So she knew it was coming. Which why the fuck else would I take you to Disney without the kids? So it wasn't like I was hiding it, but at the same time, let you
just hang in the wind even longer. No, actually, let's by the garbage can. I like it here. My legs are tired.
Yeah,
yeah. It's funny how they all know. Like every like women that I've collaborated with, they've told me a story, and they all knew. Oh, we went a random trip to New York to go to the Empire State Building. Mm-hmm. I'm like,
not only that, I had the ring and the box in my pocket, and I put it in my left pocket because she always walks on my right. And I even bought these 2 T-shirts where it was like Mickey in a heart and he's holding hands this way, and then Minnie in a heart. So like we had to have her on my fucking right for the shirts to even make sense. And again, a pain in the ass woman that I love, she knew better because she could either see the bulge or had a sixth sense. And so she kept insisting to get on this side of me so that she could like put her hand in my pocket. And I'm like, "Fucking bitch, get over here." So the whole day it was like that whole thing. I'm like, "Well, you always walk here. You always walk here." Never mind. Fuck it. I'm going home.
Never mind. Change my mind.
Lifetime of this.
And CP, you have to tell your story. And I'm gonna have a visual here for everybody who's watching this on video.
The first one?
The first one, yes. I just have to share this.
after the first one, well,
this is beautiful. This is fucking beautiful.
My ex wanted something a little extravagant, and I don't mind being the center of attention. And what we did was, when I proposed, I copied the V-Day picture, the famous soldier coming home from World War II, kissing the nurse in Times Square, and we replicated that perfectly. And well, not perfectly, but
no, it's great.
You could tell.
No, it's good. It's really good.
Yeah, we caused a spectacle, all right. And yeah, that was it. Thank God Emily is zero maintenance.
Here's your ring.
Yeah.
So how did you propose to the wife number 2?
She came to visit, and I was like, well, it'd be a lot easier for you to stay here if we just got married. And she was like, all right.
Okay. And you lived happily ever after.
Yeah. We just skipped the fiance part, 90-day wife.
Yeah. I remember the message where CB's like, hey guys, just so you know, this just happened. And we were like, the fuck? Okay.
Do you even know her name?
Yeah.
And you met her through your old circle, right? Of Misfits. Is that how y'all met? Through YouTube? You don't have to get too detailed, but that's how you met before, right?
She's a YouTuber. She was she fits the family dynamic well. She hasn't been on YouTube in a while, but she did a lot of thoughtful essays on horror, and she was very ill-educated in the horror genre, and every time she watched something new, she would do like an essay on it, and I was like, you're really quite sharp. And I think your writing style is good and you're funny. And I wanted to interview her for my series on my YouTube channel, and I asked another YouTuber who was interviewing her at the time, but controlling the conversation, where it was like, yeah, I know what your answers to these questions are. I would like to hear what she has to say. This isn't so much an interview as, hey, what do you think about Batman Begins? Because I think it's the best. And it's just like, okay.
Sounds like that Japanese horror film Audition.
Why? Wait a minute. What?
Have you seen Audition?
Yes.
You remember he needed a girlfriend, so he pretended that he was starting a show, and he interviewed women that he was potentially courting.
It was a legit interview. We shot it.
It's the same thing. Continue. My bad.
Wait a minute, I didn't go through like 15 different. What? This is
it's the same beats. It's the same beats. If I didn't know you, I swear you were making up this story and using the Auditions movie.
I see Emily sitting at home staring at her laptop.
Some dude tied up in a
bag.
But no,
okay, sorry.
It was a lot. See, this is something too that I know a lot of. Here's my advice. A lot of people get intimidated when they're interested in someone. And when I was talking to Emily, she was, as far as I knew, she was a lesbian. So it was like, all right, so no matter what I say, there's, it ain't happening. And that disintegrated. So like the comfort
Joke's on
level,
you.
Yeah. It like there were, yeah, I got fooled. So like you'd be surprised if you don't think that like you're being quizzed to for a lack of a better term, because like if you're talking to somebody that you maybe want to explore later on, or if you're on a first date, you're not yourself. You're not comfortable.
Right.
This is why they say people who are married seem to attract more interested parties than when they're
women
single.
love a married man. Yeah.
Yeah, because when you're single, you're like thirsty, and when you're married, you're like, fuck, where were you 4 years ago, asshole? But yeah, so it kind of helped. I wasn't concerned about any sort of, and plus I was 6 months separated from my divorce, so it was like I was not looking, that's for sure.
Was your divorce final, or were you like separated?
I was separated. The divorce
okay.
was final a couple months after we started talking.
Okay. All right. You said she wrote horror essays, and guys, correct me if I'm wrong, but I have this theory, and based on people I've met, women who love horror movies are some of the best fucking women ever. In my opinion,
I don't want to give horror.
I love them. My fiance is a horror chick.
Credit.
She loves horror movies, and she's the best, man. And the same thing with the metal community. When I'm just going to kind of steer the conversation to music. I've been to a lot of concerts, and the best community is always the metal community. We look after each other. We take care of each other in the pits. If somebody falls down, stop. We pick them up, make sure they're safe. Even the singers in the group, like in Slipknot, what happens when somebody falls? We pick them up. So it's like a brotherhood of all skins and races. And there's some of the best people. So again, some of the best people I've ever met love horror movies and love metal.
Some of them suck.
Yes.
like any other community.
Yeah. Well, right. Like Cody said, there are people that exploit words that you just said and say, "Hey, I'm a catch. I might be a 5, but because I love horror, I'm like an instant 8 for some of you guys."
Yeah. But I've dated women like, "Hey, let's watch Zodiac. Oh, does it have any blood in it? No, I can't do that." And I'm like, my boner just like,
Yeah.
Yeah, the extreme opposite's hard. Yeah. I don't think I could, but that's just because that's such an important piece of me. Like, it would be really hard if I couldn't watch or talk about horror or anything around my wife. Like, she doesn't necessarily,
right?
Huh? Yeah, she doesn't necessarily love horror the way that I do. She's more into like the true crime shit. But
the real stuff.
she can watch horror. Yeah, exactly. But she can watch horror and kind of get into it a little bit. But yeah, that would be hard. You know, like I had a girl that I was dating one time, and she came over and wanted to watch a movie with me, and her film of choice was God's Not Dead.
Yeah.
Oh,
notice how I said X.
Yeah. Wait, which date was it?
I don't know if it was a date. Like, we probably had one traditional date, and after that, it was just like hanging out, I guess, at my place or her place. But it was pretty early on. I was like, "What is this?" Oh, we watched the whole thing,
and it wasn't. Have you call people and text "God's Not Dead" or something like that? It just
and it wasn't like a "Hey, let's just rip the shit out of this" type deal.
No, it was like, "Oh, I've heard this is so good. Let's watch it." And I'm sitting there the whole movie like.
I told you I like movies. This is propaganda.
Exactly.
There's a whole studio that makes those types of movies. And was it Kirk Hammond? Not Kirk Hammond.
Kirk Cameron.
That's a Kirk Hammond.
Yeah. Metallica. And on the weekends, God's Not Dead.
Yeah, Kirk Cameron. He's like, it stars in every one of those movies, or he's a big
proponent. And Ken Sorbo, he's gotten off
really
lately.
Yeah, he's in God's Not Dead. He's the professor.
I mean, to each their own, but in my experience, everybody that I've ever interacted with when it came to pastors, men of God, people who go to church every Wednesday have been the worst pieces of shit I've ever met and the most vile hypocrites ever.
Dude, and look at the comment section of my nefarious review. Like, I've got like, for every 100 Christians that are like condemning me and celebrating the fact that I'm doomed and I'm going to burn because I didn't like a fucking movie. Yeah. There's like one that are like, I'm sorry you didn't like the movie, but I really hope you find God one day, brother. Like, stuff like that. I'm like, okay, I can at least appreciate the respectful comment, but everybody else, you're like, this guy is nefarious. Then it's like, okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
You need God more than I do there, person.
It sickens me because it just shows that a lot of them have this posturing and this like holier than thou attitude when it comes to other people. And again, just like these red MGTOW guys I was telling you, if you don't agree with their beliefs and ideology, you're against them and they insult you.
Yeah.
And it's so insane that how we've become so tribal when it comes to that shit. And again, with the church, like I said, I've never met anybody who's actually a good Christian, including my family.
Luckily, I have. I've met quite a few. I would say the majority of my closest friends are really devout Christians and really good people. I mean, our buddy Brian, Sean, one of my best friends from high school. I've been to his church a number of times. The guy that I used to work with,
faith-based. I wouldn't call them like Christy, like
they have like rational thinking, I believe.
Well, I mean, I don't know. I don't want to get into labels and stuff like that, but I'm just saying people that are definitely Christians. And I had a guy that I worked with at 2 jobs before I went full time, who was just one of the people I respect most in this world, who married me and my wife, who's a Christian. So I've known personally, like talking one-on-one with somebody, not in a fucking comment section. I've known personally way more good examples of Christians than bad, but I've certainly interacted with the other ones. Like I've been to church. I remember the last time I went to church where it was not too long after Riley was born, and I could just feel people's eyes, like, because I had a kid out of wedlock. And I'm just like, I'm like, okay, how's your fucking marriage doing? You did it by the book. Like, I'm pretty sure you're on the way out of divorce. Like, get the fuck
aren't
out
you
of here.
fucking the pastor? We all know.
Exactly. Like I know somebody who there was 2 young people that had no business being married. Like, there's always the chance that it could work out, but you see all of the factors and you're like, you have every fucking card is stacked against you guys.
Mm-hmm.
And they ended up getting married because they were pressured by the church, because they were not married, and they're like, you can't live with them because you're not married, and that's not the rules. And it's like, okay, so you just financially, legally set them up to be fucked for the rest of their life if that doesn't work out because it wasn't the rules.
My parents got pressured into, because they were pregnant out of wedlock, they got married and divorced within 10 months.
Yeah.
So
your mom was young, right?
One mount. Yes, she had me young. And just I don't know how that, like, they don't see past certain, like, the lack of common sense in today's day and age is where I'm
it's scary,
confused. Like, you're quoting a book that is old.
Not really old. It's only 2,000 years old, when mankind's been around for a couple 100,000 years.
Yeah, but God it says that being gay is a sin. Yeah, well, he also says eating lobster is a sin. So
eating pork, and that was because they couldn't cook it to get rid of the fucking trigonosis or whatever.
Yeah. So if you're going to be by the book, be all or none.
Mm-hmm.
But again, going to, I don't know what book or chapter where it says God hates gays, but I went to Catholic school, and I always asked.
I was confirmed. Yeah.
I was like, God wrote this, and they go, no, men inspired by the men of God. Like, wait. So guys who were just praying
years later.
Guys were praying and just felt inspired and wrote what they wanted, and we were thinking God wrote that. So technically, God didn't write that. No, through God, they wrote it. I'm like,
no.
Anyone buying this shit? I'm like, really? I'm like, come on. So technically, God hasn't written with his hand in a large feather anything. It's just people who were inspired by that or told stories.
When I started to smell shit, when like a couple of them, like the greatest hits, Adam, Eve, Noah, they lived to be like 900, and like, and God's son 33. That's it, huh? Interesting.
Don't forget, what's the book of Job? That's a fucked up story. I remember that really resonated with me. You guys know the book of Job, the story behind that?
I just know the Mission Impossible.
God damn it, man. Yeah. Anyway, there's this faithful guy with family, and he's got a beautiful family, farm and everything. And the devil and God are in heaven saying, you know what? The devil tells God, you know what? I bet you I can make one of your most faithful men lose their faith in you by just giving them a little bit of hell, right? And God says, I'll take that wager. So the devil went to hell with this guy. He killed his wife, his kids. He lost his farm. He was covered in boils. He's homeless now, but he still kept his faith in God. And the devil's like, well, I guess I lost. And the God says, you see, I won. So they shook hands, and then God blessed him with another family.
Fucking playing trading places with the dudes.
Well,
Mortimer,
here's your dollar, God.
What
the fuck?
Well, yeah, like
I will never forget that.
That's something too that like when I would get in deep conversations as a teenager, I was a bit of a shithead anyway, but like it genuinely puzzled me where I was like, all right, so Satan was an angel and
the most beautiful angel, they say.
and he got cast out and you know, he wanted to go against God and now they're like enemies forever, but knowing that God forgives everybody, what if Satan said, you know what? I've seen the error of my ways. No, that can't happen because he has to rule hell. Well, wait, what? He had a pretty premium gig as an angel for God, and we're like, what?
I remember I was talking with a couple of people from this church. I remember I asked a question. I'm very like I'm elementary level as far as understanding the Bible and everything like that. I haven't been to church very often, but I remember I asked because they were talking about how, you know, you have to have God in your heart and you have to be faithful and you have to do all this stuff. Otherwise, you don't go into heaven. And I was like, well, what about babies?
Yep.
And they were like, well,
they get a pass, right? Or something.
Yeah. They just they get a pass. And I was just like, I would ask these questions that would just turn on the logical side and want a logical answer. And that was always that's always been my struggle. As many times as I've been to church and kind of got away from it and went back is like my logical side of my brain combats with the side where it's like you're just supposed to believe.
Yeah.
And it's hard for me to believe in something that can't be proven or explained. And you know, like there's a part of me that sometimes I want to, and then there's a part of me sometimes where it's impossible for me to do it without feeling like I hope doing it to get the pass to heaven. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Listen, I hope they're right. Please, I'd love to be called an ignorant fool, and you know, I like to call myself what is it? Not atheist, agnatheist.
What is that?
Well, agnostic is somebody who doesn't. They're not an atheist. They just basically.
I think atheists believe there is no God. Agnostic basically says I don't know.
Yeah.
Is that correct? Okay.
Yeah. And I have seen nothing to tell me that anybody's right because somebody's wrong.
I always
at
think
least one person's wrong.
Is it the South Park movie I always think about where people are popping up in hell? They're like, all right, guys, single file. All right, so Mormonism was the correct religion. Oh, son of a
bitch! I remember, like, I was I got in trouble. I got thrown out of theology class, because they're talking about Revelations and when God comes back and he'll appear on a throne emerging from the clouds. And I'm like, in what country?
Good call.
And they're like, the world will be able to see them. I'm like, so what about the Muslims and everybody else? I mean, is it going to be the God that we know in art or somebody just totally different? What if God comes back as a spider? Because I had seen South Park, or just like something different. I mean,
he works in mysterious ways, Rudy.
Yeah. Are we going to see him through satellite, radar? I mean, what's going to happen? But
and kudos to Kevin Smith for making God Alanis Morissette in Dogma.
That was a good movie. Yeah. I love that. Yeah.
Those are very valid questions. He's ever at the same time. All right, well, how am I going to recognize that then?
Yeah, there's this one woman that I follow. Her name's Tatiana. I've had her on my podcast. She sees ghosts. She really does see ghosts. She sees visions and shit like that. Anyway, she was married for 10 years to a church-going man of God, and he was the most abusive, narcissistic, belittling man that she had ever known. But she was going to the church, and the pastor, look, I'm just miserable. He's mean to me. He just treats me like shit. I'm scared that he'll hit me. And they're like, well, you're supposed to be obedient to your husband. Are you being obedient? Are you pleasing him? Ooh. Are you listening to his word? Because he's the leader in the family. You're supposed to follow his direction. So everybody just didn't listen to her. And after 8 years of that, she says, fuck that. She got divorced. She just fucked the church, fucked him, and I'm gone.
I didn't mean to laugh. My dad pulled that on my my grandpa. He remarried about a little over probably 15 years ago or whatever. But he married a woman who's very, very into religion and talks in tongues and things like that. But she rules the house, like talks down to him like he's a kid sometimes. And my dad came in. My dad's the opposite of that. So he comes in and he's like, what do they say in the Bible about like serving your husband or whatever? Yeah, just to mess with her. It was always so fucking funny.
Yeah. When I used to do the road, the middle of the country, the Bible Belt, they are a lot of them genuinely believe that Jesus Christ was from America, and it's just like, guys, you need to.
Where in the Bible does it say he's from America?
That was exactly what I said. You guys really need to go through that book again, because as far as English speaking is concerned, we don't exist until 1492.
Yeah, the Americas didn't exist.
So that, there's too much conflicting nonsense for me to be like, I believe it, sure.
I'm getting, I guess, with all my social media interactions, I'm finally getting the hang of labels. So that belt is the liberal, conservative, evangelical group, right? Is that right, or am I way off?
Liberal conservative is opposite.
It's an oxymoron.
See, I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about.
Yeah. The Bible Belt.
The conservative right. Values,
evangelical.
Yeah, like Jesus, bless Trump, and they're the one sharing that picture of Trump at the White House.
The guy who
Jesus
paid a porn star to keep her mouth shut.
That's
well, she started with her mouth open, but then he paid her to keep it shut. So
it's insane, man. It's scary. To each their own. And if I can kind of tether back, one of Cody's stories here at the very beginning, you said you worked at a hotel, and you were there's like a guy you worked with who was gay or something like that.
CP talked over you. What'd you say?
No, like going back to your story, like I'm talking about just people meeting other people. Like you said, you worked at a hotel and there was this gay guy you worked with, right, or something?
Yeah, two of them actually. Yeah,
one of my first jobs, believe it or not, when I was 18, was at the Marriott River Center downtown, and that was like the big hotel, right? And I was a homophobe because I came from a low income area, and there was no one was gay. It was primarily Hispanic and Black, and we were into hair metal. And don't be a sissy and all those other words that you can't say now. Yeah. So I was a homophobe, and then I went and I started working, and there was a gay guy there, and I was like nervous around him. And he goes, "Rodolfo, come here." And I'm like, "Yeah." He goes, "You've never been around a gay man, have you?" And I'm like, "No, I haven't." And he goes, "What do you think, we're gonna fuck you? Is that what you're scared of?" And I'm like, I just never been around. He was like, "We're cool. Come with me." So his name was Javier, and he was the coolest fucking guy. And he was the coolest guy. Like, I hung out with him. We went and had drinks afterwards, and he was funny as shit. And he was the coolest guy. So like, that was like my first interaction coming out of my small silo and meeting other people. And all this, that's when I learned at 18 that the stereotypes are like not what they are. Like, whatever people have said, those are not true. And it was pretty cool. And I remember that being a good breaking point for me. Is like, don't judge people by what you hear. At the time, it's like what you hear. Now it's the internet. Judge people by who they are. Yeah. And again, the civil rights, I'm a post-civil rights kid, right? And my parents had, the Robert Kennedy, John F. Kennedy, Martin Luther King pictures all over their house. So I was always judged by the content of their, not to judge anybody by the content of their skin, but the color of their skin, but the content of the character. Yeah. But for whatever reason, that one subject was always taboo. And I'm glad it's more accepted nowadays, of course, than it has been for the past, 20-something years?
Yeah. Well, I think part of the thing too is, like, at least when I was growing up, and I wouldn't go as far as to say that I was a homophobe, but
and you know what? It wasn't. It wasn't that I was. It was just like I had to act like everybody else.
Yeah, no,
if I didn't agree with them, I would be exiled.
Yeah, no, for sure. But like, even when I was in high school, I don't even think it was so much that, but like it was still, it wasn't this era of acceptance that we're in now, almost to the point where it's like trendy nowadays. And when I was in high school, the people that you knew were gay were the ones that were just so flamboyant that there was no hiding it. And so that was the only image you had, was like,
stereotype of that,
all
right?
Gay dudes are that, or all gay chicks are the, leather wearing, piercing. It's just like there's these weird stereotypes that you get because the only ones that were comfortable to actually be themselves were like the extremes. Yeah. So that was kind of what I grew up in high school. And then,
what year did you go to high school? Like the late 90s? Or
I graduated in 08.
2008? 2008? Yeah. Holy shit, yeah. I'm thinking mid 90s like me. Okay, I forget I'm the oldest bastard.
I was born in 1990.
God damn it, man. I was in fucking 8th grade. And the era that I'm talking about, like learning about it, was like the mid 80s, and there were no gay guys in my high school that we knew of. No one was flamboyant, like you said.
Well, plus AIDS didn't help at that point.
Yeah. AIDS too. Like that was another thing. Like you don't get near them because you can get sick. We didn't have the knowledge or the of how you can get it. People thought if you shook hands, you can get AIDS back then. So it was so crazy back then. How far we've come along. So yeah, and I didn't get out of that stage until like 1995 is when I first met somebody.
Yeah,
amazing.
I was offered $5,000 by a man he would pay me $5,000 and I would let him blow me. And, yeah.
Bitches leave.
This is a true story.
And you blow it.
No, I would have been the blowee. And
oh my God.
At that point, I'll be honest with you, I didn't say no right away because it was a lot of money.
How much was it?
$5,000, and I was
$5,000 to receive a blowjob.
Yeah.
Hey, $5,000's $5,000, right? So I mean,
yeah, dude. Just leave me your number. I might call you back in about
$5,000. I'll take a 20.
We settle for like $1,500 now. Like,
yeah.
So I mean,
you don't have to pay.
I took everything that I was experiencing there and kind of wrapped it around a female that was like the motivation behind my script that was abandoned, that I recently got the rights back to, that I might be doing something with. But when I was a teenager, I didn't get facial hair. Like I can't grow a full goatee, even if I try. And back then it was worse. And I was what you would call looking like a twink, which is a very pretty gay young boy.
Okay, a twink? Is that what it's called?
That's
okay.
Is that a New York term? Shout
out to Dice Roland for feeding me with that information.
Oh, okay. No, over the seas.
So it wasn't the first guy that hit on me, so I kind of got used to it, and there was bits that were born of I can't get a girlfriend, but I know I have options if
the handlebar ears.
Yeah,
so how did this happen?
I can't even use that same bit anymore because I had a word that rhymes with drag, and it's not acceptable anymore.
Why do you think that is? It's just a sound. I mean,
you're speaking my language.
Why do you think it is, guys? Like, you can't say certain words. I almost want to say it now because it's my podcast, but I don't want to because I know the retaliation piece. But it was just a word. It's a sound, but it's amazing. You just say a sound out of your mouth and you can lose your job and you can lose everything because of a word. We're now living in the days of demolition, man. Where if you say something out loud, you get a fine. You get half a credit.
John
like
Spartan.
That. Yeah, it's so insane. And I saw that movie in '92. That's never going to happen. Like they called it. They called it, man.
Yeah, and it was like the punchline. It was I can't get women, but apparently guys love me. I'm a magnet, but replace the M with an F.
Yeah, I was showing my kids Bill and Ted. The first part 1, Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, and they say there's a scene in there where they said, "Yeah, don't be a
Monster Squad." They throw it around like jerk.
Or that one movie with Jim Carrey, Once Bitten, Twice Shy, where they're trying to see if he's got vampire bites by his dick, and someone looks and
Once Bitten.
Once Bitten, like F in the shower. There's an F in the shower. Get out. It's crazy.
Am I supposed to be watching that in the next 2 weeks?
No.
3 weeks? Okay.
Once Bitten.
No, I don't think that one made the cut. No, I mean, look, in my experience with a lot of those taboo words, the people that are level-headed, that understand the whole thing is stupid, they're just like, yeah, whatever. Like, as long as you're not using it in like a hateful way, you can tell the difference. Or, there's not a hateful intent there. I think it's more so people that are just like, can't wait to point out something like, ooh, you did that. You said that once. And that's where it all comes from.
Yeah, we live in a society where we love destroying people.
Oh yeah,
we love. They messed up. Now it's our turn, and they get to pounce on them, and it's kind of like this like, okay, this righteous movement. Yes, we got one. We got him fired. Yay! Is that something to celebrate? Because he just said a word.
Patton Oswalt is a pretty progressive comedian, and he has a bit about Who would you rather, have around? Somebody who has a good heart, but they slip up and say something that isn't very modern, or somebody who pretends to say everything you want to hear, but secretly wants to lock you in their basement and do terrible
Make a skin
things to
suit
you.
out of you.
Yeah. And I was like, that's the best way to put it. Like, I'm a comedian. I'm trying to make people laugh. Like,
Yeah. I have a friend of mine who's gay, and I was talking to him back when that little Twitter thing happened, where people were digging up shit from like 2009 that I was responding to. Of all, I don't need to get into all that, but anyway, I was talking to him about it, and he's like, "Dude, until like 6 years ago, I used that term to mean like you're lame."
yes.
He's like, I used it, and it's like nobody fucking cares. And so it's that's the stuff like that. When I have those conversations with the people that have the right to be offended by it, if anybody's going to be, typically they're the ones that are like, nobody cares. Like seriously, it's usually like, I don't know, angry hairy white woman or something like that. It's like, you said the thing on fucking CNN or something.
Yeah, it's it's intent. It's not. As much as Gen Z thinks they're the moral compass, there are things that you're saying now that aren't going to be accepted in 20 years, and you're going to feel really stupid.
Yeah, at some point, Karen's going to be a slur.
Yeah, probably within 5 years, actually.
Yeah, it just terms that we say like are going to be offensive when we're like old and our kids are watching us or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
like if you watch Friends, it hasn't aged well.
Yeah, they try to cancel Friends, right?
Yeah, because Ross's ex-wife is a lesbian, and no jokes at her expense.
I never saw Friends, so I don't know. I know it's a product of its time, and we all loved it. And I get things
As
like
was
aging.
Married with Children. No, ma'am.
Oh hell yeah!
Can you imagine that today?
I love those clips. Yeah, I see them on TikTok. They crack me up.
It's been the
world needs an Al Bundy.
It's been the slow death of comedy to me. Like, I love some of my favorite comedies of all time are the ones where it's like, you couldn't make this today. And I just, there's some movies that say or do some things where it's like, okay, yeah, that's genuinely problematic. But like, there's a lot of things where it's just like, no, that's just fucking funny. We just pretend it's not anymore.
It within the?
I mean, like the first American Pie, where he's got the webcam and he's, photographing the horny exchange student or whatever. Oh my God. It's like, that's just fucking hilarious though. So like, I'll watch it again nowadays. Twinkle his Einhorn. That's another one. Ace Ventura is transphobic. It's like, not really. That person's a murderer.
Oh yeah.
Like it's within fiction. It is a fictional story, and these actors aren't really believing the things that they're acting. People like that exist. Are you worried about the actors or the real people that do stuff like that? Like, Jesus.
Oh, it's always the actors. It's always comes back on them. It's like when they tried to, people like 6 months ago rediscovered Tropic Thunder. And they're like, oh my God, did you know this happened in 2008? I'm like, yeah, I know. I was laughing my fucking ass off. Welcome.
Yeah, one of my favorite comedies of all time.
Yeah.
You have to watch the director's cut with the commentary, because Robert Downey Jr. does it in character.
Yeah.
It's hysterical.
I loved hearing him talking to Joe Rogan, where he's like, he had just gotten his career back with Iron Man, and he's like, this is probably going to be a really bad idea. but I get to be black for a summer, so I get something in it for me. And so he does the movie, and he's like, luckily for me, I do all this offensive shit, and Ben Stiller, for playing the mentally handicapped person, he gets all the fucking fire. He's like, I was good to go.
With his wife in that bit too.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah, if you get the Blu-ray, there's a behind-the-scenes featurette. It's like some Kirk Lazarus is the actor who plays the black character, right? So it's not really Downey Jr. It's Lazarus, right? But in the commentary, there's like this behind-the-scenes documentaries. He hired a film crew to follow him while the movie was in production. You have to see it. It's fucking hilarious.
With his surgery, right? Where he gets,
yeah, but there's more to it. Like, he has like these his adopted Korean kids.
Dude, I'm
like running after footballs in the middle of the night. And he throws grenades at them. It's so stupid.
That is Ben Stiller's character. Dude, with the adopted kids.
Well, you have to check it out. It's
Dude,
freaking hilarious.
I've watched that director's cut cover to cover. It is incredible.
Mm-hmm.
I like that bit they have where it's like, I don't know if it was like MTV Movie Awards or something, but it's Ben Stiller and Robert Downey Jr. and Jack Black, and it's like Ben Stiller's nephew, not really, but like sitting there, and he's like, yeah, he kind of liked Iron Man, and Robert Downey Jr.'s like, hey man, do you have a good time? He goes, yeah, it'll do until Dark Knight comes out, then you're fucked. Like, they keep talking back and forth. Him and Ben Stiller start fighting. He's like, oh, Heartbreak Kid, what about that?
Remember that old movie Soul Man? Did you ever see that one, Soul Man?
Oh.
No, but I'm well aware of it.
Yeah, that one you couldn't make nowadays. It was a comedy back then.
You couldn't even make it then because it killed his career.
Yeah, I think
it's
it did.
ranked the 4th most racist movie of all time.
What's
number one? Blazing Saddles.
Oh,
no, that's hilarious.
It's got to be Birth of a Nation. Has to be.
Well, yeah, because of that's kind of blatant. But I think wasn't it Breakfast at Tiffany's?
It's the Citizen Kane of racism.
Yeah, because who made it, right? But no, isn't I thought Breakfast at Tiffany's was the one where they had what's that actor?
I think that's up there.
What's his name? Mickey Rooney. He was playing like the Chinaman.
A very, very overt, stereotypical, exaggerated version of an Asian person. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Is white chicks on that list?
Ooh,
I don't know.
Touche.
I was doing homework for final chapter, and I'm like, thank you, Steve Miner, for not directing that and doing this instead.
Yeah. And you know what? Speaking as a Hispanic here, let me play my card here. The Jimmy Kimmel character, his sidekick, Guimelio, what's his name or something? I don't know. Yeah, that's not the way he sounds and talks. He's a kind of a millionaire here in San Antonio. Like his family owns like a nacho company, like chips and family like party food, right? Mm-hmm. And he doesn't act like that. He doesn't sound like that. So I remember when that first started happening, like a lot of people here were getting offended. Like, why is he making you sound that way or something? Talk that way. That's not you. And it was like a caricature. So that bothered a lot of us initially, but then we just forgot about it because we didn't give a shit after a while.
Well, how do you feel about Carlos Mencia?
Isn't he Jewish?
German.
Yeah, he's German, and he pretends his name is not even Mencia. It's something else, like Harvey
Ned Holness.
Ned Holness. Yeah, I lost complete respect for him.
Carlos Mencia.
Yeah, and again, I guess we can talk about that because I lost complete respect for him because I go down this rabbit hole every year, depending on the topic. And every year I go down the Carlos Mencia rabbit hole. I watch all the Joe Rogan clips of like him confronting him on stage. Like, you still jokes, and I watch all the interviews and the comparison videos, right? And he truthfully did. He's even admitted it. And I think at the time, because the 90s,
I don't know what video you saw. Please link me.
Oh, no. Like he said it as a joke. He said as a joke. I'm sorry. But in the 90s, he was big shit, right? And he was the man. He was the top Hispanic, I guess, lead. And him and I guess George Lopez was up there as well. So I knew he was probably bullying people. And I know a lot of comedians that say that he would like be on stage and somebody would have to go next and he would actually do their act.
Yeah.
And they would be pissed, or he would go over on time and take their time. So he was like a bully because he was a shit. And now his comeuppance came and now he's exiled. But there was this one interview I saw him do with Bobby Lee. I love the Bobby Lee podcast. And the whole time he was just playing this victim mentality. He was not acknowledging that he fucked up. And I go, that's it. I wash my hands of this fucker. I'm done with his ass.
Yeah, he did another interview with somebody not too long ago where it was, I don't remember the guy's name. He's just kind of, they get into political type stuff a lot, so I don't watch.
I think it's that valuetainment interview. I think is what you're talking about. I know
probably, but yeah, he was talking to him, and he's like, "Dude, I think it would be amazing if you would go on Joe's podcast. I don't know if he would ever have you, but you guys finally talk it out and talk real, and talk about like even just for selfishly for Joe Rogan, the fucking views that thing would get.
Every comedian on the planet would watch.
Yes, but everybody would watch. It was funny because like when Carlos and Mind of Mencia and everything was big, I never thought he was that funny, so I wasn't really a fan. And I was a big, I never liked her either. I was a big fan of Joe Rogan. And this is back when he was the Fear Factor guy. That was the most prestigious thing he had done at the time. Mm-hmm. And I was following that whole Carlos Mencia thing when it was actually happening. And I was like, dude, holy shit, good on him. Like, Joe's Joe's nobody as far as a comedian. It sounds fucking hilarious to say now. But it was like, damn. And he got to where his agency was trying to drop him unless he apologized. Yep. The Comedy Store he couldn't perform at because Mencia was a big guy there. So it potentially could have killed Joe's career.
Yeah.
And then you look at now where it's just fucking.
Well, Joe Rogan had UFC and Fear Factor.
Oh yeah,
I mean,
financially he would have been fine. I'm just saying as a
Yeah.
comedian. Like I remember it when I found his comedy, I was like, holy shit, that guy's a comedian. Like it was like this weird, like hidden gem thing.
Yeah.
And you
I
say
didn't
that
know either.
nowadays, and he's one of the biggest names in comedy. So it's pretty funny.
yeah, it's hard when it comes to Los Angeles and New York. A lot of comedians, bigger name comedians, they're just working on material.
Mhm.
So you'll see the same 10 to 15 comics during the week, and if you're a tourist, you don't know anything different. But if you go to the Comedy Store Tuesday and then you go there Wednesday, you're getting the same show.
Yeah.
I never had that as a road comic. I mean, I had some times where I did showcases in the city in New York, and somebody pulled me aside and said that DMV joke, the Braille joke, that's Jay Moore's. Did you steal that? And I was like, what?
Mhm.
No. And I had to go look at it, and it we had very, very similar jokes. He actually has a much better tag than I do, but I had to just like stop doing it because
Mm.
I mean his was better.
Yeah.
And it's just
And
like,
I'm sure that happens, especially if you're talking about something that's like a current event spin.
oh yeah, I
that
mean, how
two
many
people
airport
gets to-
security jokes are there? Yeah,
Well, dude, I mean,
Trump
how
jokes.
many fucking comedians were making jokes about the wall 4 years ago? And so
Yeah.
it's just,
Yeah.
you know, or 6 years ago, whatever. So yeah, there's so many probably times where that has happened where somebody has the same comedic spin on it, but it's whoever gets there first, or
yeah,
you know, it might not be out of malice or genuine plagiarism.
yeah. I
And
just
Sia
didn't.
was.
I just didn't like. You stole that, didn't you? I was like, no. What?
Yeah.
I hear you. That's what happened to me whenever some back in my old school, like first 3 months on YouTube thumbnails, and somebody was like, "This guy's a Jeremy Johns ripoff." I was like, "Start from scratch, delete everything."
And CP, again, you were a professional comedian. You write comedy skits and all that. So, like, tell me, like, let's say I wanted to be a comedian and I don't know anything about anything. So, like, I'm just gonna write what I know. Like, hey, I got divorced, and single women are this and that. How does one confirm if it's been done or not? Is there like a comedian Wikipedia? You
Oh.
luckily had somebody stop you and said, hey, this sounds like this. But if you don't have that reference or like a resource to go look at, how does one know that you're actually copying the joke?
Well, the worst thing you can do is watch other comedians, because subconsciously you'll just get a nugget stored in there.
Mhm.
Or take a piece of it, right? Like a small piece of it.
I mean, I was lucky enough. I say lucky enough, but I was green. But a guy who ran a club needed to save money, and he let me be his in-house MC and taught me. So the trade-off was I get like a front row seat to comedy, 3 comedy shows for 6 months straight. I
Mhm.
never got paid. So he got a free MC, and I got a crash course in stand up, and it was shitty nights, good nights. I mean, for everything that I've been through in my career, I was so fond of that period. A lot of people, this person changed his name because he r- ran into some trouble not paying comedians, and I don't. It was about the money for me. I did the education, and that was my first night that I did a set without like a cheat sheet. And Mark Cooper, who passed a while back, who was a radio personality, he would do shows with us quite a bit, and he said, "Let me see that." We were outside. He was smoking, and I would just join him just to, like, I was just like starstruck hearing all these stories and stuff. And he's like, "What do you got going tonight?" And then he just, as he's lighting his cigarette, he just takes my cheat sheet and lights it up, and I'm like, "What the fuck?"
Whoa. Okay.
He goes, "Trial by fire," and I was like, "Yeah, okay." And it was, I appreciate it. Look, I was scared as shit back then, but it was, he was taking the training wheels off. It was forever grateful for that.
Okay. I don't know if you answered my question though.
Well, just write, just write stuff.
Right, but how do you confirm somebody else didn't write it? I mean, again, it sounds like you're in a good area and somebody would tell you or burn your stuff. But how do you? There's no way to confirm, I guess, is the answer. You don't know if you wrote or copied somebody else's joke.
I mean, if you come up with material, it's your material. I mean, fuck, Cody and I came up with the same joke for Alien versus Predator Requiem, where
we've done that a few times.
we cut to a just black screen. Just write what you think is funny.
We had one that was so fucking specific. I was furious. I was grateful that he just decided to send me and Brian a clip randomly, because he never really does that. He usually saves his material for the actual premiere. But it was Omen 3, where he's given the little sermon, and then I was like, motherfucker. Like, I had that written down as like, yeah, that's gonna be the good one. Son of a bitch.
Well, see, like if it's funny, it comes to you. Like that's the more time you spend around funny stuff and funny situations and funny things that funny imagery, it just comes to you, Rudy. You worry about the other shit later. Write what you think is funny first, and like I could still technically, I mean, shit, it's been a while anyway. I could still do the Jay Moore bit, and whenever I was offered to sell material, I certainly did it. Signed my NDA and said, "Go ahead, take it." This way, nobody could say I stole it.
Yeah.
Even though I did get accused of that on something that I sold, so whatever.
Yeah.
But you can't worry about what are they going to worry about if it's funny. That's your first thing.
Okay.
Is this funny? And then
did
somebody else say it first?
And I think that makes sense, because again, I think it's do that, right? But again, if it does come up like, hey, your new bit sounds like what so and so did 2 years ago, I think it's how you react to that as well. You don't want to be like Mencia and just say, "Now fuck that." I didn't know that. Yeah. My bad. I didn't know he wrote the same bit 2 years ago, and I'll stop doing it. I think if you just own up to it, that'll kind of help your name in the comedic space.
Yeah, especially if it's part of your your mind flow of how you're creating the material.
And from what I've seen, and again, I'm not a comedian, so CP can confirm or deny, it really only seems to be a gigantic issue when you become a really successful person that now has these specials and you're doing HBO with 3 different comedians bits.
Right.
I mean, Amy Schumer's been accused of it numerous times. Dane Cook had a little tiff with Louis C.K.,
which he actually owned up to.
Yeah,
too.
Dennis Leary famously was always called kind of a ripoff of Bill Hicks. Yeah, and so it's always the ones that are like they're the new it person that suddenly were.
Yeah, well, and again, not to get out of the comedic space, but it's like that one guy. I think his name is Jonathan Majors. He was in Creed and the Quantum Mania. I loved him in Creed 3. He was great, and he started just blowing up, and all of a sudden it just came crashing down just like that with accusations. And I think he's more or less finished now because his publishing company dropped him. And I guess when your publishing company drops you, I mean, they got something coming up.
Well, I don't know. It's weird because he had his accusations. His lawyer responded immediately and was like, "No, we have video evidence that this is bullshit. This will all be done by the weekend." And then fucking like a month later, still nothing. So it's like, okay, either that video evidence wasn't shit, or there's way more on the other side. And so the longer it sat, then all of a sudden he just started getting dropped left and right. And I don't know.
It's strange, especially in the entertainment universe, because Roman Polanski, by today's standards, shouldn't have a career yet.
Dude,
nobody talks about it. Woody Allen.
You can have the direct comparison with Jonathan Majors in Marvel. Is you have Ezra Miller over there in DC, where just 2 days ago,
I didn't have the details.
Just 2 days ago, the production designer of Flash was making headlines because they were like, Ezra's so good in this movie that people are going to forget everything that they did.
They
And
did
it's just
not tweet that.
I swear to God that came out. And I was like, I said, God help WB if this movie succeeds and they keep Ezra around, because like, okay, we're going to keep Ezra around. That's literally just doing felonies all across the board for months. But Jonathan Majors, the black guy, gets an accusation and they're like, out the fuck out of here. And
it's weird what the shelf life is, because Louis C.K. slowly just crept his way back in. Chris D'Elia is back to doing things. And you know,
even the guy, the comedian, the Brian something accusation. He has this. He was on the show of Modern Family, the Goldbergs. He was a coach.
I'll tell you what Louis C.K. did right.
Brian
I think so.
But
no, I hope not.
What Louis C.K. did right, aside from the fact that when you actually get to the real story, like it's fucking weird. It's a really weird kink. But like the initial stories made it seem like he like blocked the door and was like, "You're gonna watch this shit." And it
Look at my dick.
wasn't that at all. But nonetheless, aside from it being really fucking weird, the way that Louis C.K. handled that brilliantly was that he immediately turned it into a bit and started making fun of himself.
Well, you have to.
And so he had that bit.
If you're going to try to keep going, you better address it.
Yeah, like
especially if you're Louis C.K.
His first special was something after one of the shootings that happened, and he was like, he was in the news for doing a joke, and he was like, "You want to know the best way to get people to stop talking about you jerking off? Talk about dead kids." And like just weird dark shit that Louis C.K. has been famous for, but just it makes you endear yourself back to him. And he started went quiet for a little while and slowly started doing his own specials. And now I think he was one of the people that worked with Joe Rogan on the actual design of his comedy club in Austin. And so
Louis C.K. did a lot of writing for a lot of
he wrote Pootie Tang, which is one of my favorite guilty pleasures, man. I love that stupid movie. It was Brian Callen, the guy who was on the Goldbergs, who got accusations.
I don't know why I thought Brian Posehn, because that was
Brian Callen.
Oh yeah, that's one of Joe Rogan's buddies.
From The Hangover, right?
Yeah.
He's
been in a couple of Todd Phillips movies.
Yeah.
Well, and then you have what's his face? Right after The Disaster Artist, he had his
Franco.
James Franco had that little tour, scooping up awards, and then everything fell apart, and we haven't heard from him since.
Yeah.
What terrifies me is that we don't know what happened. I mean, right? None of us were there, right? Unless there's like evidence or video. But it's amazing what an accusation. It could be false. It could be made up. But just an accusation, how it can destroy everything you've worked for. You can have a career for 10 years, right? Wasn't that one woman who had like, I don't know, forget her. But anyway, like you can just have like an empire, but something you did or said 30 years ago, or a conversation you had, it can destroy you. And, or the dates, again, with the whole MeToo movement. I remember I was single and the whole MeToo movement started, and I was like terrified to go out with women. And I would be with a woman, we'll be making out. And I remember just like, you want to do something, right? And she was like, yeah. I was like, are you sure you want to do something? Okay, I'm just making sure. You go ahead and initiate the act. And I more or less, she just took off my pants. I'm like, okay, dude, I just wanted to be careful.
Again, I don't want it to like tail back to what we were talking about earlier, where you take the one crazy example and make that like the reality, but it's scary. Like I would not want to be in the dating scene nowadays. I would have fucking like prepared legal documents. Like, okay, you sign here and I sign here that we're going to fuck and we're right? Good. Right. Like, it's crazy. I mean, you had that story where the two kids in college were both drunk, had sex, woke up the next day. The girl goes off to her sorority friends and tells them about it. They convince her she was raped. So she, brings charges against the guy, gets him thrown out of school, ground. And then he gets a lawyer and finds out the grounds is because she was inebriated. So she couldn't give consent. And so he reverse sued because he was drunk and couldn't give consent either. Like, it's fucking insane. The level of just like, those words don't even make sense.
And there's a lot of young guys that I've spoken to, and a lot of them not spoken to, but they've heard men, and I've heard stories just with the circles that I'm in TikTok, like a lot of young men who participate in gangbangs. There's this one girl, white girl, whatever, she's drunk and they all like gangbang. Let's all do it. And they fucking do it. And guess what? They're all having fun. Right. But then the next day she wakes, she was conscious. She knew what she was doing and she was having fun. But then she'll say that she was drunk and she's ashamed because she told her friends. hey, I did this. Oh, how can you do that? So they start judging her, and she changes the story that I was raped. And I remember 5 guys went to prison, or their careers were ruined. They're thrown out of school.
Weren't they cops? Isn't that the cop?
There's tons of stories like that. I mean, I've had the opportunity to be in some of those, not be in some of those, but like had the opportunity to, like, you want to? I'm like, no, I'm good. I'm fine. I don't want to be part of that shit. So I would leave, man. But it's scary. It's fucking terrifying, dude.
We've went some wild fucking directions this evening, gentlemen.
That's what I want.
We went from cancel culture to gangbangs in 3 seconds.
No, but it was scary. Like I said, dating with that whole MeToo movement, dude. I was just making sure they were consenting and they initiate every act, but I was very careful with what I text and how I talk to them. So, because again, those screenshots, like a screenshot from 10 years ago, 5 years ago, or a tweet like you just went through, man.
Yeah. The weirdest thing that I ever had happen, there was a girl that I was dating, and I don't know, she, by the end of it, I was just kind of like the attempted rebound guy. So it all made sense years later, but she had, was hurt by this relationship. So she wanted to take everything slow. And I'm like, okay, cool, whatever. But I'd been out with her a few times, hadn't kissed or anything like that. And, I remember talking to a friend of mine about it, and I was just like, she seems reserved. And he's like, she's probably wanting you to like make the move. Like, she might be just impatient. And so I remember one time I went to go drop her off, and I just kind of like went to go kiss her really quick. Like, just do it. Like, no long, like, no, like, hey, are you ready? I was just like doing it. And she fucking freaked out. And I was like, oh, sorry. Like, it didn't seem like that big of a deal, but she was like, oh, don't do that. And I was like, okay. Oh, Jesus Christ. Okay, I'm sorry. We'll see you next time. And then she didn't answer my calls for a while, didn't answer my text. And then finally told me, she's like, that really made me uncomfortable. And I was like, all I did was try to fucking kiss you. Like it was like, I felt like a rapist. I was like, what the fuck? It was the weirdest thing I'd ever experienced in my entire dating career, or whatever you want to call it.
Though.
It was. I was just like, Jesus, like, I don't think I did anything wrong. If I did, it wasn't that fucking big. It's crazy how easily you could misread something so simple and just.
Yeah. I have zero faith in my ability to read the opposite gender. So every single female I have asked before I kissed, and I think you've heard this story, Cody. When I was a teenager, the first girl, I was home free. It was me and my best friend, and her best friend, and the 2 others split off and went for a walk, and it was just me and this girl that I was told, she's into you. Just it's an open net. Just
it's a layup.
And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna fucking get some fireworks. And I said, I think I'm in love with you. And she was like, what?
You did not open up with that,
dude. I was 15.
Okay.
I was 15, and this is why I say this is like, when you're young, learn this shit the hard way, because I did. And I was like, all right, too strong. And, she was like, yeah. So, my friend, they had grenaded each other and came back, and they were like, what the fuck? Because they expected us to be, wrapped up and
you done?
Yeah. They were like, what happened? You guys look horrible. What happened? I tried making it like a movie, and I screwed up.
You can roll with that romanticized idea of what love and
tried to put her name on a Zeppelin.
And and on the opposite side, there was an online date I went with. The date was really, really good. I thought everything was going well. And I dropped the girl off, and she goes, it was her house. She goes, do you want to come in and use the restroom? And I was like, no, I think I could hold it.
Come on, man.
And I didn't realize that was her way of saying, do you want to come in for coffee? Who says use the restroom unless they mean on my back?
Oh, CP. Oh, God.
You want to come in and see my drapes?
She never returned my call. I was like, what happened? What'd I do?
Especially an online date. I mean, that's like...
Would you like to come use the restroom? It was just so...
They're allowing you in.
I'm not a vampire.
Here's the double standard. If you said that to her, that's immediately a creepy story. You would have come in and used the restroom. Like, what the fuck? No. But her saying that to you, it's like, go piss now.
I can only imagine the disappointment on her face when you said that.
Now, again, learning early. So knowing that, I on both ends of the spectrum, I have no proper read.
Online dating apparently got way more forward by the time I did some of it, and it's probably because of UCP. Because by the time I was doing it, there was no code. I had a chick literally tell me I forget what I asked, and she goes, "Well, let's put it this way: my lips are sealed, but when you get over here, they won't be." And I was like, "What the fuck? Okay, green light."
Yep. I was just live last night, and a lot of divorced men want to know, like, what was it like going back into the dating world after your divorce? And I had a few like points to talk about. And I said women were sexually aggressive, and that shocked me because I was so used to being from the 90s. And now I remember I've told the story all the time. I pick up a girl, we're going to go see John Wick, and we're first time I'm reading, let's go. We're driving to the theater. She goes, "You want me to suck your dick?" I'm like, "What?" I'm like, sure. I mean, I would go ahead, and they did. And I got laid almost every night the first time, or a road BJ, man. And as a married man who never got that before, I was like getting used to that. I was like, fuck yes, watch the stick shift. But it was cool. And I didn't do any work. And it was so scary. So I remember just playing it cool. I always took their lead. Like, however the energy was, I took their lead. Like to Cody's point, like, how do you know to go in for a kiss? I remember like we'd be at a bar or something. And the moment they started rubbing my knee or grabbing me, making touch, that's like, okay, the boundaries are down. They're allowing the touching me. So that's kind of like my signal. And I slowly move in, but I always went with them making the first move. I never took the first move, but they were very sexual aggressive. And a lot of single mothers were like, "Hey, my kids are in sports. I'm busy. I just want companionship." And they're 14. I'm not going to consider anything romantic until they're 18, 19. So I'm, "Oh, you're just looking for a fuck buddy?" She was like, "Yeah, with no strings attached." So I followed their lead, but that's how they were. So, and this is all happening during the Me Too movement. So I just kind of like, they got me naked. I didn't move or take off anything.
I'm a soccer mom. I need jizz in my throat, and then I got to go because kids' band practices. Dude,
I remember sleeping with a mom at practice in the parking lot in her car, dude. It is insane, man. It was insane. Like I would just be off a day and this girl would tell me like, "Hey, I'm at work. I'm on lunch." I'm like, "Oh, cool. You want to go eat somewhere?" She goes, "No, I just want to suck your dick." And I'm like, "Okay." So I would go to the bank and she'd meet me in the parking lot and she'd give me head and I'd leave. It was great.
She didn't even offer you $5,000. Huh?
No, she was like, that was like
away
fun.
for free, like a simp.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. They were just aggressive. So it's frowned upon with younger guys. I didn't care because I'm not judging them. They know what they want. I'm just going to go with the flow because I wasn't looking for anything serious, but it was very scary with the Me Too movement because that was all happening at the same time. So I followed their lead.
Yeah. After that little, accidental kiss thing, whatever, I was never the first move again after that. That kind of scarred me for a while. But luckily, everybody after that was pretty aggressive. So I was just like, oh, okay, I'll give her doing this.
Yeah. And we're all different generations. I went from the 90s to now. So what do you guys think? Was it Sex in the City? Was it just a movement, a feminism movement? Like, what do you think women became, from your generation standpoint, like they became more sexually aggressive and free?
I kind of assume it was something like taking the power back type thing. Like how long was it just like a stereotype or like an expect where like guys are the sexually aggressive ones and women are kind of the prey. And, I think they wanted to kind of take that back a little bit. It was like, no, we're fucking because I want to fuck. And it's like, okay, yeah, cool. Like, I think they were shocked at how much men don't really care. It's just like, okay, whatever, fine, whatever you want.
Well, yeah, so in the text and cell phone age, I think things, guys are still,
communication's a lot easier too. It's not like going to the bar and having to sit there and have a conversation, a few drinks. It's literally just like,
and guys are still apes because I mean,
oh yeah.
How many guys are like, I'm going to send you a dick pic and you could do the same back, right? And it's just like, guys, stop it.
Snapchat, especially, man, where the shit deletes itself. I remember I had that for a little sneeze, and you get some surprises every once in a while where you'd be in the middle of the fucking grocery store or something. Oh, it's gone.
Yeah. I would screenshot it and it said, you screenshot it and they go, did you screenshot? I'm like, yes. You sent it to me. It's mine. I kept
Mine.
it. Yeah, I kept it. You sent it to me.
I can't help but see all these like, people's shit getting hacked and the old scout in me is like, bad news. Don't be putting any nude shit up there.
Yeah. But not the dick pics, but like, I remember I'll be just talking to somebody and she said, good morning. And she sent me a picture of like her booty. And I'm like, damn, well, good morning. Like, so again, they initiated it. So it was like, cool. I mean, there's sometimes I took point, but I was the aggressor. But it was more like what I would say. But they felt safe with me. They always said that I made them feel safe. And that was always great. That was like a huge compliment, apparently. And I didn't know it at the time. I do now. But I would just take point because they felt safe safe with me. Like, and that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Did you know a woman needs to feel safe in order to orgasm? She releases an oxytocin chemical, but she needs to feel safe in order to orgasm.
She releases Oxycontin? What'd you say?
Oxytocin or something like that is what it's called. According to I've had a number of sex coaches on the show, man. I'm just like, really? Okay. They need to be safe to feel to orgasm. And it was funny. I was talking to, well, in general. And it was funny because we're at Sterling Cooper, right? We finally talked on Monday. And we're talking about ED and how porn has I would be fucking insane if I was a kid with a phone in my hand, but there's a lot of young men in their mid 20s, early 20s who can't get a hard on because they've been jerking off to porn their entire life. And now they get a woman in front of them, a real life flesh and blood woman. They touch her. They don't know what to do. So now their brain is only fueled to get arousal with their phone. And they don't know how to be aroused with a woman. And on the caveat to that, women, a lot of them are getting their clitoris programmed by their vibrator and they can't orgasm with men. So it's the equivalent. Like some women go a year or two without having sex and they're using their vibrator and those things are like RPMs, like 100 RPMs per minute or something like that. And we can't compete with that. And they can only orgasm with voice. No, so it's crazy how like there's a lot of that out there when it comes to sex. How do we get on this topic?
I don't know, man. We're just going all over the place. There's no transitions. We're just comedy.
Gangbangs.
Gangbangs.
Yeah, wait, you started with the gangbang thing, right?
Yeah, because it's scary because it could be an evening of fun. Everyone's got consent, but she'll wake up and feel guilty. Man, I was raped. And in some cases I'm sure they were, but in some of the cases they weren't.
Yeah, I don't know. The porn thing's for real. I had there's not too many people that I'll have these types of conversations with, but I had a friend that had an issue with that for a while where
it's easy to
it was that was their sexual life for the longest time was just jerking off. And then when they finally started to get female attention, they weren't able to perform very well because their body was conditioned to a certain grip, a certain speed, a certain just laying back and not really having to like thrust hips or anything. And so all these extra muscles having to be involved just caused like exhaustion. And so it took a while. It was scary for them because, they go to therapy, like what's going on? And then they Googled it and I forget the name that it was called. It wasn't erectile dysfunction, but it was forms of that.
It's tied to dopamine as well, because I mean, just like anything, TikTok, anything we see, we all get dopamine depletions. But when it comes to sex, and if you grow up with that, I can only imagine how fucked up I would be if I was a young kid, like I said, 13, 14 right now with a phone. I mean, they're seeing things I didn't see until I was like in my 30s. And they're seeing all types of crazy shit. So parents, take care of it. Look after that.
You got to appreciate finding the nudie mag under the bridge, man. Like that.
Or the
forest. In our day, it was behind a paywall. Every time you clicked on it, they'd put a little fucking credit card thing. God damn it. And nowadays, everything's free.
We have the scramble channels.
Just try to watch a movie and it's like, here's porn. What the? I just want to watch the Jackson 5. Do you mind?
Dude, when I was younger, we used to jerk off to like the Sears catalog or Victoria's Secret because that's all we fucking had.
Yeah,
that's all Victoria's
we had. Or Fredericks of Hollywood if you're lucky.
Oh, I wish.
Those were a little.
We would have
a little more risque, I guess.
Clippings in our pocket like this.
Yeah.
Folded, and we go to the restroom when we look at the photo. That's all we had.
Look, these are called crotchless panties.
It's so insane, man. But again, young guys are learning about women. And again, some of the other sex coaches that I've spoken to, guys are growing up thinking women like a certain thing and positions. And believe it or not, there's like a few positions, but the number one position that guys think they'll like, but it doesn't feel good, and it's only shot this way because it's aesthetically pleasing to the camera, is reverse cowgirl. I didn't know that. According to the porn stars that I've spoken to, it looks great on camera, but your Johnson's like going that way, and you have to be a certain length for it to work. But even at that, it hurts. But it
Reverse
looks great on camera.
cowgirl is guy on ground,
And
woman
she's sitting on you,
back.
but facing away. So you're
Yeah.
looking at her ass.
You're both looking in the same direction.
Yeah, it's more or
And
less
she's-
you're highlighting her ass, which, you know, there's great asses out there, but it doesn't feel good in real life. I'm like, yeah, I can attest to that. But yeah, there's all these.
It's so frustrating when you try something that you've seen so many times. You're like, man, this sucks. I must be doing it right, or it must be her.
And for women, it's the other one when she's on top of him and she's literally doing squats, like her legs are bent like this, and she's literally not getting any clitoral rubbing or anything like, or any arousal. It's just the pounding. That is not good in real life. So they tried in real life and it doesn't work. It is not what they thought. It's insane.
Yeah, I'm too immature. The first time a girl swallowed, I laughed.
Shut up.
I'm dead serious.
No, I believe that. There's a few women that when I got into orgasm, they laughed. That was their reaction. So that was probably yours.
I'm sure they didn't laugh for the reason I did.
Okay.
I was 18.
That's worse. Dude.
I was 18. And I told her I'm ready, and she and I was like, yeah, I was like, oh, all right. And then I was done, and then she swallowed, and I started laughing because in my head I'm like, man, I basically piss out of there. She could have swallowed some piss like a fucking idiot. I'm thinking that. And I'm like,
how did you arrive to that idea?
How does your brain even function the first time that happens?
That was the first sexual activity I had was
that's my point.
Oh, as a blowjob and swallowing.
That's my point.
That's great. Good for you.
My brain went.
And you get the ultimate, the post nut clarity where everything makes sense.
Like, I see the light. It's gorgeous.
She was headed back up, and I was like, I don't want to kiss you right now because that.
Oh,
yeah, that's called snowballing, I think, according to Clerks. I learned that from a Kevin Smith movie.
I've never had a woman try to do that. Is that actually a thing
kind of
where
like,
they're like, why won't you kiss me? What's wrong?
It's like an unwritten rule.
Yeah. What the hell? That's weird.
But it's cool when you do them, you go down on them, and then they want to kiss you because they want to taste themselves like, oh, hell yeah, this is fucking great. I love this.
I mean, it was great workshop for a bit because there's I think I have like an 8-minute bit on sex and how I'm just immature.
I have a gif of you jerking off too. Can I send it to you?
You want to clarify that? Or?
I look at it every now and then.
Yeah, it's me miming.
Miming masturbating. That's what you're doing. Yes, he's not actually masturbating. Everybody,
not me literally masturbating.
During my wildest time, I had a friend of mine that I worked for. He was in his 40s, and so he was kind of living through me. And so I used to just
was he married?
Him, on his way to being married. But I used to just come in and tell him about my weekend, that it would just make his whole fucking week. And it was always the funniest thing. The way that he would react would make whatever happened so much better. And so I hooked up with this chick one time, and we were hanging out with her friends, and like I didn't expect anything. It was an online dating thing, and so I was like, oh, I'm just hanging out or whatever. And they were a bunch of SCAD kids, and so they're a whole different breed in themselves. The Savannah College of Art and Design or whatever.
SCAD kids, I never heard of that.
I thought you said scat, and I was like,
SCAD.
I know what that is.
It's a big college in Savannah, and it's all the art kids, and so they're just kind of a different breed. And so I'm hanging out with all these SCAD kids with this girl, and I'm just like, oh, okay, whatever. And we're talking about different things, and then she's like, hey, let's go back to my room. Okay, cool. And as soon as we get there, we're just getting into it. I'm like, okay, shit. And similar to CP's story, where she just goes for it, and I was just like, oh, okay. And then
you're the best.
Yeah, I was like, this is awesome. Okay, all right, good night. And then the next morning, she's like, all right, I got class. And so I was like, okay. And I walked out the door, and she goes, thank you. And I went, all right. And then I went to work, and I told him the whole story. And he goes, wait a minute, let me get this straight. And I said, yeah. And he goes, you go over to her house. Yeah. And he goes, she sucks your dick. I said, yeah. She goes, she swallows. I said, yeah. She goes, then she tells you that she's got things to do, so you have to leave. I said, yeah. And then she thanks you and you leave. And I said, yeah, that's pretty much it. He goes, you son of a bitch. He's like, that's fucking incredible.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So, for like a good 3 or 4 months there, that was my form of entertainment, was just like, if I had a good story, it was like, hey, guess what happened on Friday night? Oh shit, hang on.
I think the problem is women know how much oral sex is like a weapon for them, because I was with a girl. She said that she gave a friend of hers head because he wasn't feeling too well. And I'm like, what?
Good for him. Good for him.
Just here's a blowjob because
shit.
you don't feel too great.
And you know what?
NyQuil be damned.
And CP's right. Like, I remember being married, and at the end of the marriage, those are the worst BJs ever. And I was like she's watching like TV and really gives it effort during commercials.
Yeah,
like,
there's mucus coming out of everywhere. Just
it's like, don't even bother. Like, I'll finish it myself, But when you get out to the single world, it's like,
which is which.
Yeah, when you go out to the single world, it's like it's like, sure, you want to do it now in the theater, in the car. It's like, it's awesome. I fucking loved it, and I never came in anybody's mouth until I was like 39, and I was like it's just like freaking out because I'm so sensitive.
Yeah.
Like, don't touch me! Don't touch me! Like,
I always think about fucking Daniel Stern and Home Alone 2, where you get electrocuted. More or less. So that's what it's like.
Yeah, it was a moment I'll never forget.
We lose our minds in that moment, and you could tap her on the head or the shoulder ever so quickly, but when you get close enough, it's like, all right, I'm out of control.
Hey, I have to show you this. You mentioned Georgia, right? And I remember there's one guy, he was talking about STDs.
How are you going to go to fucking STDs, man? We're having fun.
Check this out. But we're talking about STDs on TikTok back in 2020. And this guy says, like, no one puts on condoms. I'm like, oh, let me check STD rates. So this is from the Center of Disease Control. And this is 2019.
I'm in the middle of the fucking Petri dish.
And look at this. This is chlamydia, like, reports. And of course, the blue is where it's the most infected. And check out that. Island?
Nice.
Check out that the Southwest there, man. That's insane. Yeah. Y'all are doing some serious. So what'd you call them? The SIGs?
Let's go over to the fucking the South. Yeah, we're the Southeast, but you go over to the Southwest.
Southeast. Yeah, Southeast is what I meant to say. But look at that.
Yeah,
it's that belt. Texas, we're cool, right? But look at that. It's blue, dude. It's insane. So that's chlamydia.
Alabama.
You guys got
highest rates.
You guys got guns and the death penalty. Chlamydia is scared to come there.
You can just take some antibiotics and you'll be fine, right?
Look at Alaska. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, it's insane, dude. That's
it's too cold
from bears or something. But
that one island in Hawaii is fucking freaky.
Yeah, I just remember
they ban all of them to that island. Every time you get a positive test, you got to live there.
The chlamydia rates reported by state, and it's all, look at that belt there, dude. It's insane, man.
Yep.
What the fuck is upstate ruining our street cred?
New York, Maine, Puerto Rico.
The map before this, Long Island was nice and baby blue.
Yeah. So I remember I just had to show you that because it's all the stories I hear about women who are just insanely promiscuous.
Full of chlamydia?
They all come from Georgia, Atlanta, Florida, Virginia, this whole belt is what I hear the stories come from. And I'm like, that can't be true. I'm like, holy shit, the stats say so.
Yeah.
Florida is a carnival ride. There is no other way to put Florida.
Yeah. So there's some real data for you, gents.
Yeah, thanks for the stats.
Yeah.
I'm normally a dweeb about that shit, but I did not want those stats.
Yeah. Well, I'm just, I'm all about, evidence and factual data. And I never got it. I never got anything, thank God. I remember I had a scare where a woman, I slept with her on Friday, and then she slept with somebody else on Saturday. And she called me Monday. She goes, I got it. I'm like, from me? Who? And she's, no, I think I had somebody else that weekend. I'm like, shit. So I went to the doctor. I tested negative. I'm like, just give me it anyway, just in case it flutters up or something like that. And I did. And a lot of people have herpes too. It's insane. I know.
Just keep telling yourself that. That's fine.
No, they tell me. They told me because they don't want me to not know. I mean, they just FYI I do, but you can't get it the way you think. You can only get it if it flares up.
That girl that had the little kiss scare, I found out she had it. And I was like, oh, no wonder you didn't want to kiss. Now I feel better.
And you got to take pills every day for the rest of your life to kind of keep it dormant.
That's the other thing that these, what are they called? Men going
MGTOW.
Megtown.
Yeah.
You don't know. You never know. Like, yeah, that girl might be hot, but she might be hiding some secrets. There's the other bit that I have that, sure, they're attractive in a bikini, but once they're naked standing in front of you, you don't know. They could have cross-eyed nipples and you're just looking at them funny, like, what the fuck? Why is one nipple facing that way? Like you have this imagine this goddess, and like that's your imagination running with you. And when you have the real deal in front of you, cross-eyed nipples, super hairy 70s bush, and she's got 5 different STDs, then how do you feel? Men going their own way. Wow.
Yep. An anti-feminist, misogynistic, mostly online community advocating for men to separate themselves from women.
Online. I think it's exclusively online, but we'll go with mostly.
I interact with some of them every time. They have the faceless profiles, or they're the Dragon Ball Z avatar or some shit like that. I don't know.
Of course they do.
Yeah.
It's always the letter or a picture of Michael Myers for me.
It's insane, man. But yeah, a lot of people had herpes. Luckily, and again, when I was promiscuous, like I made a goal, like it was like a game prize. I would try to sleep with somebody Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, a different woman all weekend, and I did. I called it like a trifecta, even though it was 4.
It's the best game ever because you always win.
Yeah, what a night! But I would get tested every month. I would go to the doctor, like, hey, just test me. Lord. I just wanted to be sure because I didn't want to catch anything, dude.
Rudy had some wild times.
It's insane, dude. But some guys are not so lucky, and they ended up with herpes. No one ever got like HIV. I didn't know anybody who had that. Or
they're making that really manageable now, anyway.
You got to be a really fucked up person to get HIV and hide it. I mean,
really fucked up. Yeah,
who did that? Didn't somebody do that in the news a couple years ago? Tommy Lee or Kid Rock or something like that?
He's died since Tommy Lee from Rocky 5. I think so.
Somebody did that.
Yeah,
or they didn't.
I remember it was
Tommy Morrison's his name, I think.
Tommy Gunn.
Tommy Gunn.
In the movie, he's Tommy Gunn. I remember an episode of Nip Tuck where they did that, where a guy had AIDS and his face was all sunken in like a skull, and they gave him plastic surgery to make him normal, and then found out after they did the surgery he was doing that so he can go fuck and not be like people knew he had AIDS, and they were like, "What the fuck?" And so like,
oh my god,
yeah.
I remember
in story, you mean?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It's still fucked up, but.
Yeah, but I'm pretty sure that's like taken or inspired by true events or something like that. Because I'm pretty sure there's people like that out there.
Oh yeah,
I remember
they exist
in the late 80s, early in the 90s. I remember like when Magic Johnson, when he had that. I came home from school and there's Magic Johnson and he had AIDS and he's dead.
Big deal.
He'll be dead in a year.
Yeah,
like
Freddie Mercury died right before that, right? Wasn't it around the same time?
Freddie Mercury had died. There's a white kid who got it through transfusion. Ryan White. He died. Oh my
god, that's right.
Yeah, there's so many big people that died because before it was only you could only get it through intercourse, but then people who were hetero were getting it through blood transfusions and things like that. So it was
when the kid got it, that was like, it's not only a gay disease.
Freddie Mercury had died, but I remember we all thought Magic Johnson was going to die, and here he is. He's still alive to this day, and he looks great. It's insane, man. That scenario you mentioned in that show, it reminds me of that movie. I don't know if you ever seen it. It's called Kids. I only saw it once.
The show or the movie?
The movie.
With Rosario Dawson?
No, I don't think Rosario Dawson's in it, but it's
1996, 7?
Kids movie. No, it's a movie about teenage people.
And they're fucking quite a bit.
Yeah, teenage kids that just discovered sex.
Rosario Dawson's in that.
Is she?
Yeah.
Drama indie film, a coming of age movie directed. Is that it, Kids? Let me check here real quick. But anyway, the movie's about kids discovering, sex and starting having sex with each other. And one of them has AIDS and he doesn't know it.
That's been put on my list for my glory series.
Sounds so fun.
Yeah.
It's disturbing. I saw it back in the 90s. Like, that's so fucked up. But, they were making movies that kind of speak to the times and everything. So,
yeah.
Kids, that's a crazy movie. It scared the hell out of me.
I mean, teenagers are so irresponsible.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like there was a surge. I remember when I was in school, there was a surge of like, it happened more than once where a girl was pregnant, went to prom, had her baby and put it in the dumpster, and then
oh my God,
finished her prom. Baby died. It was just like the fuck, and that wasn't the only one. The second one, I think they saved the baby. It's just like the fuck.
Yeah, you're right. And then that's when they started doing the baby Noah project, where you can drop off like a baby Moses, where you could drop off a baby at a fire station. And that's when the fire station started living. Those like it's like a delivery bunker where you open the slot and you put the baby and then close it and hit the alarm. That's the reason they invented those, because of the dumpsters. It's scary. But yeah, I do remember all that.
That shit makes me sick to my stomach.
Yeah. Just put up for adoption.
Yeah.
The fuck.
Well, that does it for this episode, right? Just kidding.
So let's bring it all together on something we can all agree on: abortion. So anyway, no.
Trans women. Let's talk about trans. Something to divide everybody. But no, you guys good on time? We're running on 2 hours. I think that's long enough.
I'm good, but I just let me get some water because my thing ran low. I'm getting thirsty.
All right. We'll do another maybe 30 minutes or so.
Yeah. Go ahead. I'll be right back.
And we're back. What are we talking about? That sounds like interrupted a conversation.
No, he was talking about Renfield.
Oh, I liked it.
Yeah,
I did too.
I had a good time with it.
It flopped bad.
Yeah.
Well, Universal didn't really push it.
Mm-hmm. But it didn't make its budget.
It's already on VOD.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Along with Shazam 2, which I haven't seen, but I hear it's good.
Shazam.
I think I blame the poor performance to the announcement of James Gunn. It's like, okay, what's the point of seeing it if we have a new universe coming?
That's you can say the same shit for Flash, though, and
you can.
But
that's supposed to be the turning point of the universe, isn't it?
Of that. What?
That's supposed to be the turning point of the universe. That's the pivotal point? That's what I hear. I could be wrong.
No one dies. Okay.
Yeah, but that's probably going to be one of the biggest movies of the year, if not Mario Brothers. You saw? I haven't seen your review for Guardians. How was it?
It's good. I don't think it's as good as the first one, but I liked it better than 2.
Yeah.
It's not like I still have that Marvel fatigue. So like I walked out of it. Everybody's like, "This is Marvel's return to form. They're back. This is what I wanted. This is." And I'm like, I mean, it's good, but I'm still numb, kind of walking out of them. But yeah, it's what I liked about it, and what you'll like about it, Rudy, is that it's a movie that actually has stakes, and it's dark and it's serious, and it lets it stay that way. They don't like throw jokes and shit in.
Yeah.
And so there's some really dark emotional stuff in it. And I kept waiting for like a stupid joke, and I'm like, oh fuck, they're not going to do that. Okay, cool. So I liked that. And it also it doesn't feel like it's bogged down with universe shit, where like we got to answer for what happened in Doctor Strange, and we got to set up a Disney Plus show and introduce a spin-off. Like it doesn't have any of that. It's just a Guardians of the Galaxy movie.
Yeah.
So I had fun with it. But yeah, I didn't think it was as good as the first one. Yeah. I hold the first one pretty high up in my ranking. So I'm still just kind of, even with Guardians, like it's such a different thing. It doesn't feel like superhero movie stuff, but it still has that Marvel seasoning to it, to where I'm kind of like, still feels like some of the same stuff. But yeah.
Yeah, I am going to go see that, because again, it's James Gunn, and I like everything he's done, especially Suicide Squad. The Suicide Squad, that has really grown on me over the years, and I find myself watching it about once a month. I'll just have it on the background because I catch something new, and I'm glad you said that, because I know you have the Marvel fatigue, but I am excited to see what he does, because I think he's aware that everybody's getting that fatigue. He's seen the performance of Shazam, and we're all in this stagnant space, and who the hell likes phase 4, right? Whatever the phase we're at. So I hope he starts this DC era with something new. He knows we're tired of what we've seen. Give us something different. And I like that it's in his hands.
Yeah.
I'm in a Marvel coma, but I mean, Ant-Man had the third best opening weekend in February. So, some people still want to watch this shit. I mean, it fell off a cliff, but 105 million in February is nothing to sneeze at.
Yeah, and it's February, so it's not like Labor Day or May or
Right.
anything like that. You know,
Right.
summertime.
People take February for granted.
It's Black History Month. Just kidding.
February was rough. January was more interesting than February this year.
Yeah.
February, we got Winnie the Pooh.
Yeah.
Wow.
But yeah, I'm
I
going to see
wouldn't
that.
even counted that.
What did I see last week? Evil Dead. Oh, I saw Evil Dead Rise.
Mm,
Have y'all seen it?
no.
Yeah.
Okay. You haven't seen the CP?
No.
Oh shit. Okay. Well,
It's not free yet.
it's not for you. Oh. Well, let me give you my non-spoiler review.
I keep hovering over Ant-Man. I'm like, nope, don't care.
Yeah, I don't give a shit about that.
Mm.
But I won't spoil it. But I did get a kick out of it. Like, it starts and I'm like, oh, this is kind of unique and all that. And it's the same. I started seeing the same beats as we've seen in the other movies. We get the book and the translation. I'm like, we've seen this shit before. And you know, there's certain characters that I know they're not going to kill. And then third act starts and I'm like, like what? Like, okay. I liked it in the third act. Third act saved it for me. And I will give it this. I don't know who directed it, but I loved how it looks.
Yeah.
There were some shots like that they had, and I go, okay, that was something they drew up on the storyboard because that's so cool. It was kind of like that Marvel moment that the MCU always talked about. They're like, yeah, it got dark. And I don't know where they're going to go with this, but I was actually impressed with the third act.
The one thing you have to give credit to the original Evil Dead and sequel to, or the camera work.
Yeah.
They were shot for nothing, but Sam Raimi fucked if he wasn't tying a camera to a rope over the fucking mud or whatever. Like, there was some nifty shots in that no budget movie.
Yeah.
And he made it when he was like 18, right? He was in college or something early
like
20s.
that.
That's fucking awesome, dude.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if there's any more pioneers like that in film. Maybe the Skidmark guy. I don't know. Maybe, but somebody who's going to break boundaries and be the first one through the wall. They're going to be bloody, of course. But I mean, it's like we need more inventive filmmakers now, like Sam Raimi, because maybe there's no other methods. There's no other way. I don't know.
Nowadays, it's not about the actual filmmaking. It's about how much social commentary you can dump into your movie. And now they're like, this is the new god of horror. You get Ari Aster and Jordan Peele and all them. And it's just like, okay, their shit's good, but calm the fuck down.
Yep.
I don't know.
Jordan Peele had one movie out. It's like, are we ready to admit that he's as good as Carpenter? No, fuck, we're not.
No. No, not at all. No.
God, no.
I don't think
it took Carpenter like a decade to really solidify himself.
Right? Yeah. I mean, and I'll be honest, the only movie that I love from Jordan Peele is Get Out.
Same.
That's the only one it's very significant. It's social commentary, and that's going to be timeless, so to speak. Like, somebody can write a paper about that movie 30 years from now. But what about Us and all that other things? They're very stylistic and original.
Sure.
Nope was good, but I appreciate the film direction and how it looked. It looks great. It's a great film, but I don't know if they're going to hold up.
Yeah.
Like Carpenter.
Was it you, Cody, that made the comparison to M. Night?
Yeah.
Because that is a very astute comparison.
He gets one hit movie, and all of a sudden everybody's blowing smoke up his ass, and he starts to just go bigger and bigger and kind of high in his own supply.
He made 3 Signs, Unbreakable, and
after Sixth Sense, they were already calling him the next Spielberg.
Oh, I don't remember. That's right. I do remember that. Yeah.
Yeah. But no, I'm with you. Like, the first 3, well, not the first 3. Technically, he had one before that, but the first 3 significant Shyamalan films are all fucking awesome. But yeah, Jordan Peele for me, like, I love Get Out, and you get to Us, and it just feels like the metaphors and the symbolism and all the imagery, like that's all above the story and above logic. And then Nope was kind of like halfway between that, to where it still had that problem. It just wasn't as egregious, to where you start thinking about shit just doesn't start making sense when you start thinking about it. You're like, okay, so the alien only attacks you if you look at it, but it's like fucking 8 miles in the sky. So how does it even know when I'm looking at it? Like, weird shit like that, where you either get one or two responses. You get somebody that's like, yeah, that doesn't make any fucking sense. Or you ask somebody that's a big Jordan Peele person, and they're like, so you ask these types of questions about it's just, the crowd of people that defend those movies.
Television
like
show thing with the shoe. Just
it was a whole different movie.
What
does the floating shoe mean? Whatever you want it to mean.
Yeah. What do
Nope.
you think?
You wrote a story. You tell it to me.
But you know what? I think every movie needs that one scene that's going to be on the top 100 scary moments in horror. And then the one thing that I will give Nope is when that cloud goes above that crowd show and he starts eating people and you hear people being just digested. That's pretty disturbing. I mean, you can film it with 2 white sheets in your room and just add, sound after the fact. But I think it holds up. Yeah. People share that all over the place on TikTok, and that's going to be a clip that people are going to talk about.
I think Nope is a really long Twilight Zone episode.
That's I said that in my review. I think not
even us. Yeah.
But
spending too much time on set there.
I haven't posted any movie reviews. I've been doing nothing but a Rude Advice. I mean, because it's easy because I just talk to people and I upload it, so there's like no work. I have like a few that I haven't done, or you know what I'm saying? It's a podcast. You're just having conversation, and you clip it and going live and answering questions about dating. That's easy, but I haven't gotten to it yet, man. And the Love Witch is moving in next week, and I told her like I'm kind of worried about it. I mean, I love you. I'm going to give you everything, but it's hard enough moving in with just one person, right? But now
it's normal to be worried about that. She shouldn't be upset. Even I don't think she was, but it's. There's no negative connotation with that. It's your life is changing dramatically. So is hers. And there's always a little hesitation because as much as you might spend what seems like every waking moment together, it's never the same as when you're physically occupying the same house and you find out all these little tiny things about each other that you didn't know before.
Yeah. I don't know if you saw or listened to my podcast with the Sledges. Again, it was like almost inspiring, but they said one of the main parts of what made their marriage successful and their whole relationship for over 20 years is that they worked different shifts. He worked overnight and she worked mornings. So they hardly saw each other. So they missed each other. Right. So that longing is needed. And they're not the only ones. I've had relationship coaches say, don't spend every waking moment with each other because you're just going to hate each other after a while, after the years go by.
Dude, I had a guy that worked for me at Target when I was a manager there. And I remember he had to go off for training or something. And he's like, I don't know how my wife's going to deal with this. This will be the first weekend that we've spent away from each other in 20 years. And I'm like, how the fuck do you survive? Like
20 years?
Me and my wife are very self-aware. Like we know we could not work in the same building or the same shift or like, I say that and it sounds like a guy being a dick. And then she says the same thing. She's like, no, I want to go to work. Get the fuck away from me.
Yeah.
Like, so it's, we had that for a while where I would work during the day. I'd work from 4 a.m. to 4 p.m., get home. There'd be an hour where they're together and then she would go work night shift. And we did that even when Riley was a baby. I'd work and then come home and basically be single dad all night. And, I mean, exactly what you said. You miss each other. You look forward to time, and the time that you do have with each other, you make sure that you have value into that time. Or even just sitting on the couch and just hanging out with each other and stuff like that seems more valuable. So for sure,
and with her, I'm not worried. I'm more worried about me. I mean, she's perfect in every way, and I've known her. I've been with her almost 4 years. It'll be 4 years in December. So she's seen me about worse. She's seen me when my dad passed, the shit with my mom. And she knows what I am and what I'm doing. And she knows the space
when the Snyderverse got canceled.
No, she saw how happy I was when I went to Sean's. I couldn't sleep, man. So that was fucking awesome. Oh, the good old Snyderverse. You never know. Never give up hope, man. Full circle. Full circle. But yeah, I mean, I'm not worried about her at all. It's just the change. And I'm looking forward to spending time with my son. Cause again, he comes over on weekends, but I've missed out on so much. I hate that because I missed out a lot of my daughter's first 6 months because I was working a lot. Yeah. And I remember saying, I'm never going to miss the first 6 months ever again. And I missed it again. But again, it wasn't because it was my fault. It's just the living arrangements. They can't just move in, especially when she has an elderly mother and all that. So it's way more difficult.
Definitely.
Yeah, so I'm going to be one of you again, man. A married guy. You two were the first people I told that I went about the engagement.
It was like a trap. Like we're all encouraged. Like, come on, man, it's all great. And as soon as you get in here, welcome to hell.
Yeah, it's like that with that old ghost story in the elevator. There's room for one more.
Did you ship yours off to England yet?
You crossed the pond.
Times are tight. Get the fuck out.
It's funny you say that, Cody, because there was this Facebook comment that just resonated with me, and it's true. How like married people, when they're married, and your friends are single, they get married. I like him, do it, and they kind of pressure their single friends to get married. And one married woman, a lot of married women said in my Facebook comments, they're only doing that because they want you to be miserable with them.
It's the same thing. People do the same shit with pressuring you to have kids.
Yeah.
Like, come on, it's the best glory of your life. It's so and it is. It is. But like, it's such a beautiful thing. And then as soon as they get pregnant, they're like, ha, you're fucked for the next 18
welcome to
years.
hell.
Yeah.
And we say that as a joke, but it's actually true.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. My kids are the best and worst part of my day.
Yeah. And even to this day, I send my my love witch like that gif "kids suck" from Goonies, or "fuck them kids." I mean that I love them, but fuck them kids. Like it's just it's a term of endearment.
That's a joke that we endearingly say in our house. So we were watching something. It was some game show, and the person won. Like, what are you gonna do with the money? Like, oh, I'm gonna put it towards my kids' college fund. And both of us in unison looked at each other. We're like, fuck them kids.
But I will say, of all the roles I've ever had, husband, whatever else, a dad is my favorite role. I love being a dad.
Oh yeah,
it's my favorite thing in the world.
Me too.
Yeah, I just can't imagine life without him.
I know. Yeah. It's sick, isn't it?
What is the phrase? What is it? Somebody said something like motherhood or being a parent is like a disease of the mind. Somebody said that in some movie, and it's true.
It's weird. Like my youngest is the one that is the best example to where like she will exhaust me and put me into my biggest fit of anger next to her mother, or put me in my biggest fit of anger. And then minutes later, I just want to like hug her. Be like, I love you. You're my best friend. And just, it's.
She fucked my shit up too when I was there.
Yeah. She was at my parents' house yesterday, and she put them through the ringer.
Yeah. She's a lot of work. I made myself pretzels, and she's like, "What are you eating?" I'm like, "Pretzels." She's like, "Can I have some?" And I was like, "Yeah." So I made her some, and I was going back to the stove or the oven or whatever the hell, and she was taking handfuls out of my bowl. I'm like, "You little fucker, that's adorable."
Good. I'm glad you said that.
No, I didn't say that. What are you kidding?
My dad just planted a bunch of flowers out their house that they just bought. She picked them. Here's some flowers. You can't get mad at her. It's so fucking sweet, but you're so furious. I heard that.
So he get mad at you.
Yeah, I heard that and laughed. I was like, oh.
And you see, that's what.
Remember all those times you were a dick to me? This is your karma.
Yeah,
it's my daughter coming back for revenge for daddy.
And I think I've been vocal about this. I told you this, Cody, that I'm scared because I told my fiance, like, I don't want to hang around other kids and other parents. I hate kids. And if any kid touches my son's toys or says something like, "Hey, fucker, knock that off," I'm going to be that guy. And I'm going to say something. I know I'm going to do my best to not, but I know I'm going to be that parent. Like, "Hey, can you get your kid? He's being a dick." The kids that bully or push your kids around, I'm going to be like I remember when my kids were little, they're playing on the swing set. One kid took away my son's toy and ran off with it. And like, well, where's he at? I need the toy. Give it back to me. That's my son's. But now I'm just going to be fucking brutal, dude. I'm time to waste, man.
I almost got in trouble once. We went to Forsyth Park, big park in downtown Savannah. And this is when Riley was like 2. So she's really little, and she's going up in the play set, and she went to go to how some play sets, they have like the little blocks that you like put through the paths and stuff and steering wheels. She went to go do something, and this little kid who was like a year or 2 older just kind of like knocked her hand out of the way and took it. And I was like,
like, hey,
like you were half a second from getting fucked up. You don't even realize how close you came. And like my kid was getting bullied last year, and I had to go pick him up from school, and he was all upset because they said that they were going to follow him home and jump him. I was like, dude, don't worry about it. And I was like, let him follow you home. I'll be at the door. We'll see who gets jumped.
Did you guys ever get jumped?
No. I just pictured me like fucking Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back. Where it's like he's a fucking 12-year-old kid. Bring your dad back. I'll fuck him up next.
Are you Smooth Man 585?
Did you post?
Right.
Fucking love that.
Yeah. Oh my
No,
God.
I never got in any fights growing up, actually. I had a lot of people that seemed like they were going to, but I was always so much bigger than everybody else. I think that it was just all talk.
helped.
I think my size helped. I had a kid that threw a basketball. We were playing dodgeball, and he picked up a basketball and threw a basketball and hit me in the side of the fucking face. And I went up to him and I grabbed him and I was ready to knock him the fuck out. And the gym teacher stopped us. And after that, he wanted to fight me that whole week. And it never ended up coming. And
you didn't meet in the restroom after school or in the playground or the ditch after 3 o'clock?
That was the closest I came in school, but it didn't end up happening. So I always attributed it to me being bigger than everybody else, where they're like, this probably won't work out in my favor.
I got into 3 fights. I lost 2. The second one, I was beat up by 2 guys. And I was in 3rd grade because I liked this one girl and they decided to beat me up in front of her. And they did. They beat me up and none of my friends jumped in. But the last fight I got into was a friend of mine in 6th grade. We're wrestling during PE and I gave him a headlock and apparently I held him too much, but we were friends. And he goes, motherfucker, get off me. I'm like, oh, I'm sorry, we're playing. He goes, no, bitch, get off. Don't ever do that to me again. Apparently I embarrassed him. I'm like, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to, man. He goes, no, fuck you, we're going to fight. I'm like, no, please, let's not fight. And he goes, like, we're going to fight after school. I'm like, shit. And I'm like, trying to talk him out of it. Like, dude, I'm sorry. I am sorry. You're my friend. I didn't want to do this. I'm sorry. There's no, we're going to fucking fight. So we all go to the restroom. Everyone, the whole school, everyone, word of mouth happened. So the big crowd outside the restrooms are in there. I'm like, you sure you want to do this, man? He's like, yeah, come on, bitch. I'm like, fine. I picked him up, dude. And I threw him against the tile in the restroom. And then I picked him up again and he was skinny. And I was like a husky kid.
Yeah.
And I picked him up and threw him toward the toilet. And I beat the fuck out of him, dude. He was crying. I walked out and my dad was at the end outside by the car standing there. He goes, did you win? And I'm like, yeah. He goes, all right, good. Let me get you a burger. That was the one fight I won. I beat the fuck out of him, dude. I felt bad too, but he left me no choice.
Yeah. You sure you want to ride this train?
Yeah. But lucky I never got to fight as an adult. I would definitely do my best to walk away from fights because nowadays adults, you can't even honk at a person in the traffic nowadays because you don't know if they're going to shoot you. I've heard so many scary stories like that. Like there's so many crazy people out there, man. And I'm in fucking Texas.
And you're brown.
And I'm brown.
Texas.
Yes. It's actually, there's no racism down here. I've never experienced racism. The only time I have racism, I've never experienced it in Texas. Never. The only time, believe it or not, I experienced racism when I was in Tulsa, Oklahoma for a U2 concert. That's the only time I felt like people were just giving me ugly looks and like watching me, and it's white people. But again, I was there for U2, but that's the only time I felt uncomfortable. Just people were mean to me everywhere I went. I'm like, what the fuck's going on? Only time in my life.
That's the way I felt when I moved to Savannah when I was 14, because the first school I went to was predominantly black, and it was typically the other way in Ohio.
Yeah. And
yeah, I felt the 9 weeks that I was at that school, I was just like, this is fucking weird. Like everybody's mean. Everybody's fucking eyeballing me. Everybody's whispering and saying shit. And it was not comfortable at all.
Yeah. That's Queens. I went to Bayside High, and every time I tell somebody, no, it's not Saved by the Bell. Definitely not the same color.
Yeah.
And I was the minority, and that's where you learn. All right, how do I fit in? All right, I make them laugh. That's what I'll do.
Yeah.
They won't beat the shit out of me if I make them laugh.
I made friends with the Puerto Rican goth chick that they're all scared of.
Hey, there you go. And like I said, for me, I grew up in a low income area, so it's like Hispanic and black in the southeast side of San Antonio. So I was more comfortable. I still am to this day more comfortable with black people. And there was no white people around me. There's only like a couple of Polish people, but we hardly saw them. But same thing. We all didn't know white people. We hated white people. So again, like I said, I was a homophobe. We all had stereotypes of white people. The only white people we knew were like the white bullies in 80s movies, like Johnny and everything else like that. So that's all we knew. And I didn't learn about that until, like I said, I started working and meeting more people. But it's insane, man. And it's just weird. Like, I mean, you are where you come from, and if you evolve from where you are, that's cool.
Yeah.
But I remember I was really popular when I played basketball. Like I'd be the one Mexican guy I'd be at a playground on the east side of San Antonio with like all black people. I'm like, okay, I'm just going to make them look good. I'm going to give them the ball and pass it. And I was like the most popular guy, like assisting and passing and giving it up. And anytime they make fun of me, I'm like, well, I'm just going to do what Woody Harrelson did and White Man Can't Jump. I'm not going to get offended. I'm going to laugh with their jokes. And it worked to deflect their insults. Yeah. So it worked.
Yeah, it always works. If they think they're, if you trick them into thinking that, yeah, that's funny, don't know what to do. Their wires get crossed.
Yeah. Like, what? He's not insulted? He's not going to fight me? Like, no.
What do you mean? What the fuck? No, you're not supposed to laugh. You're supposed to be angry.
I know it was funny, but it's cool. I mean, like I said, I've never had any problems, but that's just where I came from.
That's how I knew me and Rudy were going to get along easily with our sense of humor. Because I remember he sent me a picture.
Man, that could have went so wrong.
I know. That was one of those text messages where you try to like reach and grab the signal. You're like, come back.
Did you tell CP?
I probably did. I don't know, but it was he had sent me a picture of a truck and somebody had like scratched Ford into like the tailgate or something. Yeah. He's like, this is the most redneck shit I've ever seen. And I was like, yeah, I was like, probably some red bearded white dude or something. And he sent me a voice message about it. He goes, no, he's Mexican. Fuck, he's one of mine. Yeah. And he was saying that. And so I kind of took that as an opening to be funny. And so I sent him a message back. I was like, I couldn't tell. There wasn't 15 family members in the back. I said that and I was like, oh shit. I didn't vet him first. And then I was like, I was just joking around, dude. I'm sorry if you got offended. And he goes, I grew up in the Mel Brooks era. That was fucking awesome.
Yeah,
I was like,
I love it. That's when I knew we were going to be best friends.
Yeah. I don't have too many of those times where I say something that's funny before I realize who I'm talking to. But yeah, I sent that. I was like, oh, fuck, come back.
Yeah. And I'm like, whoa, I saw that. And I laughed. And I was like, holy shit, that could have went AWOL. That could have went the other way for you.
Oh, yeah.
But Mel Brooks, yeah, like I said, I grew up in that era. I grew up with Airplane, everything. That's just my sense of humor, and that's why I love about Blazing Saddles. It's I love that it just takes racism and just makes it a joke and makes people who are racist look like idiots. And it's satire at its best. CP, you should write an article or an essay about that movie. It's timeless, and I love it, man. Blazing Saddles, yeah. Have you seen it lately? Have you seen it?
Yeah, I do. I own it. Madeline Kahn is.
Oh yeah, I love her.
I think is one of the funniest women ever.
Yeah.
What?
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
No. I'm very well aware. I think I prefer Young Frankenstein, to be honest with you.
That's great. Yeah.
But what were we going to say?
I was going to say this. I'm going to share screens real quick before we end up. But Blazing Saddles, right? I was telling my my fiance that, like, you know what? I'm not looking forward to watching all these stupid kids movies again, because I went through that with my kids. So we're on HBO Max, right? And she put this movie on. It was like a Paws of Fury, and I was like, "What the hell is this?" And then there's this a town full of cats. And they need a sensei to teach kung fu, and they bring a dog, and they go, a dog can teach kung fu in this town. I'm like, what? Okay. So it had all these beats of Blazing Saddles, and this is actually a remake of Blazing Saddles, this movie, because the screenwriter is Richard Pryor and Mel Brooks, and they just adapted it to a kid's story. So this freaking movie, Balls of Fury, is a remake of Blazing Saddles.
I've never heard of it. I feel like I would have known it if they had like advertised that. Like, yeah, and it's Saddles for kids.
Yeah, it was so funny. Like, that big guy, Mongol in the movie. They have this one guy called Sumo. And Sumo no reference. No one talked to Sumo before. It's like it's exactly Blazing Saddles, but a kids movie, dude. I could not stop laughing. And Mel Brooks is in the movie as well. He plays cameos in there.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's awesome.
I love when they sneak adult stuff into kids' movies. It's always like these little surprises. I remember when I went and saw Zootopia with my kids, and then they throw in a fucking Breaking Bad reference. There's two sheep, and they're like, Walt and Jesse. I was like, oh yes. Meth in a kids' movie. This is awesome.
I need to see that again. I don't remember that part. I think that's one of the last movies I took my kids to see, because they're already growing out of that phase.
I think Shrek did it best. Shrek, they always
I was about to say that.
Tested the boundaries really.
Were they the first?
Nickelodeon cartoons in our era were pretty fucking rough. Like Ren and Stimpy and Rocko's Modern Life. They had like masturbation jokes just right in front of your face. You just didn't know. I remember Rocko's Modern Life, and I didn't realize it until years later. They were playing this board game in one episode where there's a little spinner thing, and there's a monkey, and they have paddles, and they're playing Spank the Monkey. And like years later, I was like, I heard somebody say Spank the Monkey and like as a masturbation joke, and it just took me back. I was like, wait a fucking minute. Trying to think back to shit. He works at a phone sex operator place, and you never realize it.
Oh my God, really?
Yeah.
Jesus, man. Wow.
Mm-hmm. Some of those early cartoons, man, you go back and watch them as an adult, they're totally different. You're like, oh, wow.
Mm-hmm.
No wonder I'm fucked up.
It wasn't that bad, though. I mean,
dude, I was already watching From Dusk Till Dawn and shit, so I was already far gone.
And that's when you fell in love with Latinas, when you saw Salma Hayek.
To this day, dude, that's still when people are like, what's your celebrity crush? I'm like, Santiago Pandemonium.
Yes. Have you seen her lately? She's aged beautifully, dude.
Oh,
she
yeah.
looks amazing. I think she's what,
dude,
50s,
Salma
maybe?
Hayek. Yeah, Salma Hayek and Elizabeth Hurley are two women that just, as they get older, it's just like, Jesus Christ, you're like aging backwards.
Yeah. Beautiful, man. Absolutely beautiful. And so, I don't think Salma has ever had kids or anything like that. That may be it, but she's just timeless. She hasn't aged at all. She looks beautiful. Yeah. But okay, we're at the 2:30 mark, so I guess we'll wrap it up real quick. So guys, again, thanks for participating with this podcast. Again, I want to do something different. I want people to see a different side of me and to see who I hang with. And of course, maybe we can invite other people next time and just have a hangout, man. But I appreciate your audience. And
maybe Sean, what's your thoughts on gangbangs?
Yeah, right, Sean.
Brian, your rebuttal.
Right. Let's talk about Satan, right? And how he's misunderstood.
Yeah.
That would be funny.
Yeah.
That would be hilarious, dude. I would
do him. Bait him with a Snyder discussion and just be like, actually, we're here to talk about.
Yeah. Jesus, right? We're going to talk about that, right? But anyway, guys.
We did a little bit.
What's that?
We talked about Jesus a little bit. A teeny little bit.
Maybe it was mixed in with the AIDS and gangbangs and blowjobs and kissing after that.
That was way before. Yeah.
Anything you guys want to promote? I mean, Cody, you're super famous. Everybody knows who the hell you are. But anything you're working on that you want to tell people? This is not going to go out, by the way, until just FYI. Looking at my calendar here. This is not going to go out to the 22nd.
Oh, fuck. Okay, well, if you're watching this on the 22nd, then in about a week on my channel, as well as Charles's channel and Sean's channel and Brian Lomax's channel, you'll see our newest 31 on 31 Creatures of the Night, where we're going to rank 31 vampire and werewolf films. So that's what I'll promote.
And CP, you're working on this right now. You're like on 25, right? Tell me you're on 25.
If he hasn't already shot and started editing, he's fucked.
Yeah.
No, I've got pieces. I could show you. Well, I don't want to show Cody my fucking gags because
no,
we're gonna wear the same dress to the fucking prom.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I got Renfield out of the way today. That was the one I was concerned about because I was like, a new one. Fuck.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, there's that, and it was requested that I brought this stereotypical grifter movie reviewer back for a gag. Years ago, I did a reaction to the Force Awakens trailer. Back then, the problem was that there was a black stormtrooper, and I thought it was the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. So
you did a
reacted to
character.
No. I was a white nerd with a lisp and reacted to it as Sigmund. And since it's only gotten worse, it's kind of like a backhanded slap to people because people say that, woke is just constantly
ego broke.
They're just turning it up.
Yeah.
The last 5 years have been crazy. And what I'm doing is secretly I'm telling them how fucking stupid they are by showing them movies with the same agenda, 30, 40 years ago, while still playing into the woke narrative. By the time this is up, I'll have my Sigmund review of Blue Steel, the Catherine Bigelow directed Jamie Lee Curtis film. And
Armand Asante, is that his name with the beard?
No, that was Ron Silver.
Oh, that's who it was. Yeah, I knew it was one of those guys. Yeah.
And you know why he was a villain, right?
Because his beard?
Because he was outwardly Republican.
Oh.
And that too.
I had no idea. Man.
But cool. It's satire. If you watch it it is satire. I don't believe any of the things I'm genuinely riffing on. So have that in mind.
Well, we need more satire in this world. We need to laugh at ourselves. We take ourselves a little too seriously sometimes.
Those fuckers really need to take themselves down a notch or 7. Holy
Go
shit.
look through my nefarious comment section. You'll have a field day.
MCU. Go fuck yourself, dude. What the fuck? Is this really what bothers you?
Mm-hmm. I was shocked that I didn't get any woke comments in my Evil Dead Rise review. I thought when I saw it, I was like, oh, fuck, all female cast. Oh,
I didn't even think about that.
Yeah.
See,
and not only that, not only that, but the one male character, I believe, is a transgender actor. And so that was another thing. I was like, oh, this is all I'm going to fucking hear about for the next 3 days. And I didn't get one comment. And I was like, either we're growing or I just got lucky this time because I've had enough with Poe is Afraid and Nefarious, but I was shocked. And, you know, apparently some other people have had a few comments, but yeah, I was shocked that one wasn't the big fucking hit piece of May.
Here's what I'll tackle on to what Rudy was saying before. The horror community is very accepting. If I can say something about, you know, social construct, the horror community is very open-armed and welcoming to all types of different people.
Oh, they don't get mad nearly as quick as the comic book crowd. That's for sure.
No.
Yeah.
That's why I get pissed off. There was a fucking article in Collider or something that was talking about how we're just finally starting to get over sexism and horror. And I was like, can we get somebody that actually knows horror to write this shit? Because we're the last, it's the last genre that needs any help.
Yeah.
Final Girl has been a thing for fucking 40 plus years for a reason. We're way ahead of the curve.
Mm-hmm.
That's so weird.
Yeah, it was bringing up. It was saying like how Jamie Lee Curtis always has to be saved by the man. I guess they're talking about Dr. Loomis. I was like, how many of these fucking movies have you seen? That was one time.
Have you seen H2O? Right? You see what she did to
shit.
That's
it's so funny. I read that stuff. I'm just like, oh, like, did somebody just fucking make Chat GPT like create a stupid ass article about?
That's a brilliant idea.
Yeah.
Make me a woke story about a movie that's not woke.
Yeah.
Well, and that's why I do like going back to James Gunn. He said that the DC universe that he's writing, he's not going to be political or throw any social narratives in it. He's just going to stay true to the comic book source. I'm like, oh, good. Just kind of leave that alone. Just to kind of keep the traffic and noise away from him.
Hey guys, if you're white in your 30s and don't have kids, Little Mermaid, it's not for you. So don't. Nobody cares about your 2 cents. How about that? Yeah. That's coming from another white guy without kids. I don't fucking care. What the fuck is wrong with you people?
I don't care either, but I'm gonna say this. I don't like Disney. I've been very vocal about that ever since Star Wars and how they manage it. When I see things like that, like making the Little Mermaid black, I don't think it's sincere. I don't feel
sincerity. No, you're right.
No studio. It's the same way with WB when they made the fucking the last Fantastic Beasts film. It's the one where you finally start to explore that Dumbledore and Grindelwald used to be gay lovers and stuff. They put it all in one scene so that they could delete one scene and still have it play in China.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's just like, okay, if you're really a big fan of the cause, fuck China. But no.
They're money first. They're always money first.
Yes.
But when they can, they try to pat themselves on the back and say, hey, look, you can't really tell, but there's these blurry women kissing. And it's like, no, you don't get credit for that. Sorry.
Or Lightyear. Lightyear was the other one that everybody was freaking out about. Like, indoctrinating our children. I'm like, dude, it's in the background. 2 chicks holding fucking hands. You could go down for a sip of your drink and miss it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
there was somebody that,
go ahead.
There was somebody that froze a frame of the new Spider-Man animated movie. And he's like, look, the trans flag's on her wall. And I'm like, how the fuck did you find that? A single frame. You know,
it's one of those things where it's like
Easter eggs things.
It's so minuscule that it's not deserving of the hate or the praise.
Right.
Yes,
right.
it's just there.
It's like, what the
Little
who the
Mermaid's a
fuck
little
cares?
different. Like I don't buy into Disney's motivations like they're doing it for a moral reason. But when you see like a lot of the reactions with these young black girls where they're and they're all excited, like that stuff's heartwarming to me. I would if I didn't have daughters and a wife that's a fanatic of the Little Mermaid, I would never have seen the movie to begin with. So I would have never cared. But just stuff like that is enough that even if I was a Little Mermaid fanatic, I'm like, how can you be mad about that? Like,
yeah,
they can have one, for Christ's sake. Jesus Christ.
Still have yours too.
Yeah.
They're not ruining the original. It's still there.
Yeah. And what I was saying was like it's not sincere. I know it's a gimmick, and one thing I don't like,
cash. They're just trying.
They're repackaging an old product, and that's all they're doing. They're like wrapping up the same Christmas present but with different wrapping and saying, "Hey, it's different." And it's a weird. It's actually strategically smart because they'll push that it's sincere. Oh, we're speaking to generations and all that, but it's also lazy.
Yeah,
because they know it's going to get points on social media, and it's kind of protected because you can't talk against it, because if you do, you're going to be labeled X. And
they did that with fucking She-Hulk. The in joke that entire show was laughing at all of the comments that they were going to get online during the show. Like they pre-wrote what the episode responses were going to be into the show.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And what other studios doing that?
Yeah.
I mean, it's only Disney. So again, I don't feel sincerity with Disney. And again, maybe it's a generational thing, but I like when you mentioned like kids seeing, like like young black women seeing like a Little Mermaid and just seeing, oh, that's cool. I don't know. Like for me, like one of my favorite movies, I even did a video on it. It was The Last Dragon with Bruce Leroy. That's one of my fucking favorite movies, and the soundtrack's on my workout mix. Mm-hmm. I never saw Bruce Leroy as black when I was a kid. I just saw him as a guy who wanted to learn karate and get the master of the glow and be the one. I mean, color was blind to me. Luke, I never saw him as white.
Dude, you know how
Indiana
bad
Jones was Indiana Jones. He wasn't like a white man. And as a young Hispanic kid, I looked up to him. Christopher Reeve. I never saw white. It's weird. So I wonder if if they didn't bring that up, would kids even notice?
I don't think so. Not so much. Like I said, I thought Blade was the coolest motherfucker in the world.
Fuck yes. That's one of the best Marvel movies ever. Yes. Yeah. I love that movie.
The trans panic makes me laugh because I'm like, did you watch Looney Tunes when you were a kid? Yeah. Oh,
I've been watching them again with my son.
How did you feel about Bugs Bunny wearing a dress? Because that's you're okay with that? Was that woke back in 1949 or whatever the fuck it came out in?
Let me ask you this, because as a comedian, one of this men's coaches was a comedian for a while, right? She was on the road forever. I asked her, why is it women like calling out their husbands on these videos and making fun of them? She goes, well, comedy back then, men were always seen as the strong, household figure of the family, and making fun of him or poking fun at him was always silly. So seeing a man or a male character in a dress back in the 40s and 50s was considered hilarious because it was so outside the realm of reality in that timeline. So that's what she even brought up, like the Looney Tunes. That's when they dressed up. It was funny. It was funny because it was so unheard of.
Well, Bugs Bunny was doing it to fool.
Yes. To trick Elmer Fudd.
Elmer Fudd. I mean, Tootsie, like this
movie.
This fucking there's a part of me that hopes it gets through, and there's a part of me that hopes I don't have to keep doing this. Mm-hmm. But I have a lineup of woke 50 years ago movies if this Sigmund thing works. But Tootsie, if it came out today, it would be just destroyed.
You think so? Yeah, like there was Bosom Buddies with Tom Hanks. Remember that show?
Yeah. Drag. You can't read a book to your kid if somebody's in drag. Well,
Mrs. Doubtfire.
Yeah, fucking hey, dude, exactly. They built a show around somebody in drag reading books to their kid. Like they just don't understand the hypocrisy. It's just like, this isn't a new thing, guys.
What, guys dressing up in dresses as jokes or something like that, or
just this, like people making a big stink over social things in entertainment. And it's like, guys, it's been there. It's been there. Hollywood has always been a little cheeky about shit. And they've always been they've been ahead of the curve. You are right with Disney. They're certainly thinking of money first, but they always want that extra credit point. Like, hey, look, we have gay people in our movie. And it's like, it's sort of. But Hollywood has always with subtext. I mean, if you watch Night of the Living Dead, regular horror fans can it's a zombie movie, but it's about it's about classes, and that ending is just so.
It was powerful. It still is powerful. Yeah.
Right. And Romero knew what he was doing, and these people don't understand subtext, so it's frustrating. I can't watch too much of it, but I'm gonna mock it. That's for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a crazy time, man. I mean, I think I always pick on the Fast and Furious crowd. Like, stop making Fast and Furious movies, right? I remember a friend of mine that I don't talk to anymore, but he loved the movies. He loved those movies. Like, he would go, he had them all. He loved those films. And I go, what do you like about them? They fucking suck. I mean, they're just cartoons now. And he goes, really, they just make me forget about the world. They just make me forget about how things are fucked up, and I just enjoy seeing things blow up. That's all.
Who was getting chained to the movie theater and told to go and watch these movies? Like
the Fast and Furious movies?
No. It's just if you're complaining about something that you don't like, don't watch it. That's it. That's it. That's all there is to it. And listen,
a lot of that crowd acts like it's slipped in there, like sneakily. Like every Disney and Marvel movie has something that's trying to indoctrinate you. And I'm just like, dude, I had a comment say that like everything. I'm like, if you see a left or a woke agenda in every movie that you watch, that's a you thing. You're hunting for it, and you're gonna find it. That was the counterbalance with the nefarious thing. Is I go to see this movie that's just marketed as demonic thriller.
Yeah.
And then you go in there and it's just like, gotcha, bitch. Republican Christian propaganda for 90 minutes. And I'm like, fuck, you got me. And, and that's not the way, like, again, there's things on the left that annoy the fuck out of me, but I don't walk it. Like, even when they bring it up, it's a little sliver, but like, if it's advertised as like
the first lesbian
woke agenda of the movie, I'm like, okay, I'll just, not spend my money on that.
Dude, I mean, and because they cry wolf for everything, it's stuff like Black Christmas 2019, where it's like, you guys have fucked it up where we can't actually call these movies out for actually being so heavy-handed with their messaging, because you say that about fucking everything. So when it actually happens, there's no way to differentiate.
Yeah. And I get annoyed too. It was Thor Love and Thunder that I got annoyed with, where I'm like, fucking guys, like, you know how annoying it is to hear every single time this stuff comes up that it's woke, and then you guys put Lady Thor in a movie and decide in that same movie to make Thor a fucking idiot, and she has to save him every time. Like, you're not making this any easier. Like, shit like that makes it harder to have a point.
What does the beats they say? They take existing male, like, established characters and they make them idiots, and they bring female characters to kind of like springboard off of them to make them look superior. Now, that's just what I'm hearing on social media, but I can see it in a few places, but not all. But like I said, it doesn't bother me. I don't watch it, and I don't comment about it either, because it's not going to impact my life at all in any way.
Yeah. No, if you go back and watch I Love Lucy, which was in black and white,
I loved.
Lucy was a fucking chucklehead. She was a moron, but her neighbor Ethel was the boss of that little relationship, and Fred and Ethel. I don't know, the older man, the bald man.
Ethel,
he was a fucking moron. Like, they were equal opportunity about it, and just comedy. It was just fucking comedy. Fuck.
Yeah. I mean, that's even in more modern stuff. I mean, King of Queens. That's my favorite sitcom of all time.
Isn't that just like the Honeymooners?
A UPS guy.
Fat, dumb, pure American guy. Gets in trouble because his wife goes upstairs and he's in bed eating hot wings off of his shirt. And she's like, what the fuck? And he goes, before you get mad, I've invented the shirt plate.
Yeah.
He's the
and-
blunt end of most jokes. It's clear
Yeah.
she's the smart one, but it's fucking hilarious.
Yeah, Leah Remini's always got the sarcastic side eye joke. It plays so well. Like, come on, guys.
Yeah.
Stop.
Yeah. It is just it's a sensitive time right now and all that stuff. So I don't know where to go from here.
Well, we were closing out, and then we started,
I know, then we brought up, like,
getting into Disney. Like, Disney, what?
They fucking suck, man.
Yeah.
You know, I will say this about the trans community. This is an honest take for me. Hear me out. I respect everybody. I don't care who you want to sleep with, what your sexual preferences, who you think you are. I support you. And like I said, I will never judge anybody by the color of the skin, but the content of the character. You can be,
Right.
that's who I'll judge. The problem I have is I have a daughter. And like, if she would train for softball, she loves softball. And that was her sport. And if some dude or like comes in and says like he's a woman, but he's obviously bigger physically and can beat her in any way, that's where I have a problem, where it kind of it hurts women in sports. There was a story where this woman was an athletic champion swimmer her entire collegiate career. And then this guy who's a trans guy, he's tall, male, like in his late mid-20s, he beat her in the Olympics or the sports.
She beat.
Well, again, yeah, you see,
trans female.
Yes, trans female. But you see, it's hard for me to talk about it.
The person who was born a man.
So the biological female lost, and she's been training her whole life. So it's like when the opportunities, that's where it gets a little iffy for me. And if you're an adult, do whatever you want. You know, I support that. But when they start changing kids at 2 or 3 years old, man, that's like, that's
that
scary.
person changed in their 20s. I understand what you're saying, and
I'm very protective when it comes to kids. That's when it comes down to it. Let them make the decision when they're older, but don't do something chemically to them when they're little, man, like 4 or 5, man.
Nobody's doing that.
Well, you know what I'm saying.
Where are you getting that information? And as far as trans athletes are concerned, in professional sports, there are 4.
There are 4. Okay.
4. Okay. So, you know,
and those are the ones that get the news, right?
Yeah.
It's one of those things where there's no easy answer. There's no easy. I mean, like, what are you gonna make a trans league? And do they even want a trans league?
You might, yeah.
And so it's one of those things where it's just, you know, the sports
co-ed,
thing.
Maybe
the sports thing is just like the bathroom debate.
Yeah.
You want to deprive somebody of going into the bathroom that they're more comfortable going into, and at the same time have people that are normally going into that bathroom feel uncomfortable. Who's more important? And so it's just,
if we're respecting everybody's feelings and, you know, who they are, that goes for everybody. So if somebody feels uncomfortable by seeing a naked man in a girl's locker room, make another locker room. Just, hey, be who you are. We're not hating.
I hate to break this to everybody, but I have a unisex bathroom in my house. Because there's only one, so yeah. But unigender, should I say? My thing is, you know, you got to give me a little bit of rope when it comes to if I misgender you or whatever. Like, I'm going on what I see. Like, that sometimes when the left, the extreme left get really hardcore about pronouns and you know labels. It's like whoa. You know, I've gone 25 years knowing you as Steve. You got to give me a little
some time,
rebound time.
It goes back to the intent behind it. If somebody's mispronouncing or misgendering out of hate or to fuck with you, that's different than if somebody slips up in conversation and doesn't say they or whatever. It is a new form of language to a certain degree, and so it does take some of us longer than others. And I've never had anybody react poorly to that. I think most people are conscious of whether or not it was an accident or it was in good, you know, good heart or whatever. And then, like you said, there's the extreme on both sides. There's the extreme that if you slip up once, you're this hateful garbage person who should die. And then you have the extreme other side where it's just like, I'm just going to say the opposite of what they want me to say just to give the middle finger. And, you know, it's
Yeah.
Again, there's the sane part of it, and then there's the extreme ridiculous side that you'll often see on like TikTok and stuff. Like I saw the video,
viral videos. Yeah.
Yeah. I saw the video of the one where there was a woman and she was angry because she walked into somewhere and a guy said, "What pronoun should I use with you? Because you look like a they, them." And she goes, and I was so furious because he was right. And it's like, well, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Like, you're mad now because he was correct in gendering you? Like, there's things like that where it's just like, is there no winning? Is there no fucking winning? So
social media has made this so much worse. I think.
Oh yeah. Oh, for sure. For sure.
Yeah. And that kind of reinforces the point that I mentioned earlier. Young men are learning about women and they hate women because they see the toxic women, you know, the ones at the clubs and the interview on the street. And they think that woman's answer represents all women. So yeah, I totally agree with that.
I mean, if they're looking up to Andrew Tate, they deserve to run face first into a wall taking his fucking advice.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's crazy how words can hurt people. Like that swimmer, I told you about that female swimmer.
It's just like Cody brought up, and I think I talked about it earlier. It's intent. Listen, I made a mistake. I know you as Steve, you know, just I there's no chance in hell that I meant to offend you. Like, just all right, just correct me, and I'll do my best to. I mean, Cody and I have an acquaintance that is what is it? Non-binary. And
which one's that? Where they're just
that's neither. They're just in between.
Okay.
They,
them. And every now and again I'll misgender and I'm like, sorry. And they're very understanding. And you know, that's it. You know,
yeah.
If that's what makes you happy, awesome. Like, you know, cool.
I'm not gonna think little of you or anything, dude. Like,
fucking A,
one of the women I dated, she was a Satanist, and she was fucking cool. And I didn't judge her for who she worshipped or where she practiced, but she was a very nice person. So I don't practice.
That sex was wild.
You know what I'm saying?
How many candles did you light? What?
There's a woman who was a white witch. I had a friend who was a warlock. I've had people in my life who were complete polar opposites of me.
Fucking
and as long as they were cool, that's all that fucking mattered. They didn't try to change me, convert me into Satanism. I respect it. Tell me about it. I'm curious about it. I've never dated a Satanist before, and they tell me. Yeah, but it was as long as you're cool. That's all I give a shit, man. I don't care.
I feel like people like scolding people for what their choices are, what they're doing in life, and it's like, don't you're a flawed human too. Just carry about your business and shut the fuck up.
If it doesn't affect other people, there shouldn't be any reason to give a fuck, whether it makes zero sense to you or not. That's kind of always been my approach. Like, I will never understand what it's like to be a trans person. I will never understand what it's like to wake up and think this is the wrong body.
Yeah.
And that's a horrifying concept to even try to wrap your head around. That I will never be able to make sense of that. But the fact that there's other people that have that, I'm like, it doesn't fucking hurt me. You know, it's whatever. You know, I had a guy that I worked with at Target for years, like probably 3 years. I think I worked with this guy. I did the grocery. And so the vendors that would come in for like the bread, the milk, and the different things would go through this guy at the loading dock. And so I worked with him almost every single day. No warning. One day comes in dressed as a woman. Pink hair, dress, wants to be called Caitlin. And I was the whole store like, what the fuck? Like, you know, all the vendors that came in like, dude, what the fuck happened to Jimmy? I'm like, I don't know. It's Caitlin now. And it's just, it takes an adjustment. And you know, I didn't have to work with them very much after that, but it was just, depending on the context, it's a strange situation for some people, but I was never like bothered by it. It was just like, what do I do? What am I supposed to say now? What am I supposed to change?
I know. Mr. Beast, he had his friend, like, who was been with him for 9 years. He got married and he had a son, and he changed to a woman.
Yeah.
Apparently he's always been a woman.
I don't watch Mr.
I don't know how
Beast,
that works.
But from what I've heard, that guy's being a fucking asshole. He's like basically trying to take over the show.
Yeah, you see what I mean?
And kind of box him into a place where it's I don't know. I don't want to speak too much because I'm not educated enough on Mr. Beast. I never watch his shit, but I've seen stuff where it seems like that's going to go bad very soon for somebody.
And that puts,
nonetheless,
and it kind of puts, again, I don't know. I don't even watch him. I just know of him. Like it's his partner, his teammate has been on his channel for years. And now it's causing a divide. And Mr. Beast doesn't know what to do. Like apparently he's like, okay, I respect him. He's my friend, but he cannot help how his audience reacts. And he's got the most successful platform in the world. So like, what does one do when your friend is causing business to hurt? You know, it brings up a whole bunch of questions, man.
Yeah. Well, from what I've seen, it's not this person's presence or the sex change or anything like that that's causing issues. It's like since the transition, they're like actively dismantling the show and saying things live and doing things to like rile people up. And so, yeah, you're in this position where it's like, okay, do I stand by my friend and continue to let them bring my audience down, or do I make a business decision and get labeled a bigot?
It's tough. Yeah. Like, what do you do? It's crazy, man.
Yeah.
And like Bud Light, look what happened to Bud Light. They lost how many billions of dollars this past quarter?
I don't know. That was another thing that was just like, my biggest thing that I can't stand about the two sides, the left and the right, the woke and the anti-woke, is how fucking similar they are. And they just do the exact same shit.
Yes. Yeah.
I mean, how many fucking Republicans were up in arms and pissed off that we got rid of Aunt Jemima and all this stuff? And it's just like, what the fuck is wrong with you woke ass people bitching about some woman's face on a bag of rice and everything? And now you get a can of beer that you can't even buy publicly.
Yeah.
They're blowing shit up and everything. It's just like, what the fuck, dude? Like, I just wish somebody at one point would just be like, okay, that shit annoys me, so I'm not going to do the exact same thing. Just like with the movies where they're like, it's woke, and so we're going to slip our shit into this movie to counterbalance it. Or they're giving 10 out of 10s to review bomb it. Let's go do 0 out of 10s. And
the Potato Head, man, again, back to the hypocrisy. They changed Mr. Potato Head. They just changed it to Potato Head. And Potato Head always came with both parts, and that was the first trans toy ever. And they made a big stink about it. Oh, now it's just Potato Head, so we got to deal with this. It's just the things that people get pissed about is just, dude, fucking, is that really what bothers you? I would love to be so content with the rest of my life that a fucking children's toy just losing its title would just get me up in arms like that, or I'd have to take an Uzi out and shoot out a fucking a 36 pack of Bud Light.
Yeah, I mean, I get looking at stuff like that and just being like, that's so fucking stupid. Who gives a shit? But just like the actual like, we got to revolt against this kind of thing. I'm like, I don't care that much. I'm sorry.
Kid Rock, I get it for AARP. Why don't you? Kill it with
take down the rebel flag. You're from fucking Michigan.
Your dad owned like car dealerships. You're fucking rich, you stupid fuck.
Yeah.
Oh God. It's true. He comes from wealth, man.
Oh, he's definitely from Detroit too. So it just all smells like shit. Yeah. Good, great performance there, kid.
Yeah, it's insane, man. And
and our M&Ms need to be fuckable too, by the way.
What? You lost me.
Well, when the green M&Ms stopped wearing high heels, they made a big deal about it.
Well, I don't remember that, but we all remember the green M&Ms apparently made you horny. I remember that was like one of the myths when I was a kid. So if you got green M&Ms, it made you horny. It was like an aphrodisiac. You don't remember that? That's why they made her a sexy character, because that was like the thing.
It's chocolate, Rudy.
Of course it is. It's not oysters, but that's what everybody would said. You know, if you eat the green M&Ms, it make you horny. It was a thing, and that's why they made the green M&M a sexy woman.
Interesting.
That's an old 80s thing.
The only genuine belly laugh I got out of all the things that are like that was I saw a video of a guy. He took one of the bottles of Pearl Milling Company and flipped it up and was refilling the Aunt Jemima bottle with it so he could keep the Aunt Jemima. That shit made me laugh.
What was the movie where like some rock band wanted a bowl of green M&Ms? You remember?
That's Ozzy. Ozzy was
there. You go.
Oh, Wayne's World 2.
Yeah, there you go. So it was a thing. So everybody knew about it. Green M&Ms.
I don't know if that was real, but his little anecdote was that Ozzy wouldn't go on stage that night.
I don't know how I'm going to cut this, man. I'm not going to post a 3-hour podcast. I'm just going to listen to the end. I think I'll just take.
Why not? Podcasts are long form.
Yeah.
I know, but I was on a podcast this past weekend, and they're more into the industry than I am. And they said the podcast need to be 20 minutes or 40 minutes, and you have to build it around what somebody's doing. Like if someone's cooking a meal, that's 40 minutes. 20 minutes is a drive to work. That's the average time. So no one listens to podcasts.
Chop it up into 3 different parts. We'll have the fucking the fucking blowjobs and gangbangs one episode, and Disney and transgender the second one.
And we were talking about ASMR. Those women that do all that. I did some research, and they're into hip hop, right? That's their thing. And there's also the equivalent of ASMR in the hip hop space is now called lo-fi music, which is just soft, repetitive music. And apparently ASMR and that genre are booming. They're making millions on Spotify and YouTube because ADHD attention spans are being fucked right now, man. I don't know if you guys have been on TikTok, but not only is it like a roulette table because you can just pick whatever you want, but now they're putting videos. If it catches your attention, now it's 2 videos in one where they have like a video game or somebody doing something with crafts, and then the video you're watching up top. So now your attention span's getting even more fucked. So there's so much noise. There's so much distractions for us that this genre, ASMR and this lo-fi music, calm us. It relaxes us. And we need to get that escape from the noise and distraction. So that's why it's booming.
Lo-fi, just like Kenny G music?
Well, you've probably seen that one girl on YouTube. It's a little girl. She's animated and she's just doing like studying or she's drawing, and it's just her. And it's just a repetitive like animation. Let me look it up. Lo-fi girl. Let me show you.
So trip hop, but slow.
Yeah, it's just soft, repetitive.
What? Did he curse?
It's this channel. Check it out. Let me share screens real quick. And it's always live. And let me turn this down real quick.
Carefully, you might get clipped.
This is all it is. She's just studying and doing homework, and it's always live. And my daughter, who also has ADHD, she needs to focus. So a lot of young kids are playing this music to help them focus.
But why is there a video?
It's just there. It's looping. That's all it is. This has been the same video for the past 5 years, but they're constantly playing music, and there's always, look at the chat, man. There's always people watching.
Why is there a chat on a thing where you're just supposed to fucking chill?
Because there's a lot of people who just want calm and peace, man. They're chilling out. This is the end of the day.
But chatting isn't.
But it's a community. It's a community, man. That's all. I mean, no one's insulting each other. I mean, they're all maybe
somebody just said block them.
It's like a community of just kids who just want peace, man. So you see Spotify links. So there's tracks and all types of things happening with this. So yeah, this is like a genre that's blowing up. Lo-fi and ASMR.
Trip hop.
It's always the shit that I don't understand at all that blows up.
Yeah. And that's why I'm, now that I have a kid, right? I've seen my kids grew up with no smartphones and they had books. My daughter would read books all the time. Then she got a smartphone at 14, totally fucked her up. And now she has ADHD. So I told my Erica, like, look, my son's not going to get a phone. I don't want him to have a laptop or an iPad. No, because if my attention span's hurting and I'm a grown ass adult, I can only imagine what it's going to do to a kid.
Yeah.
Learning about attention and communicating. Oh God.
Did you see that story that kids that are born now will develop a extra bone in their neck from looking because the last 20 years humans have been spending most of their time looking down with a tilt. So life finds a way, and we're going to have an extra little, kids that are born now will have an extra bone thing on the top of their neck, bottom of their head, or some shit like that. It's fucking funky as hell.
Mm-hmm.
I have to literally like detox my son from technology. Like he has a really bad addiction to stuff. Like we basically yanked his PlayStation from him a year ago almost and haven't given it back yet. because it got to the point where, like, when I was a kid, if I got grounded or if I got something taken away from me, my mindset was always, okay, what did I do to make this shit happen? And how do I not do that again? Because I love my fucking PlayStation. And my son's mindset always seemed to be, okay, inevitably I'm going to fuck up again. So let me just go nuts and play as much as this as I possibly can when I get it back. And so no matter what, I mean, dude, like dozens of times we would take it from him and be like, dude, don't go fucking nuts with this thing. And like, he would have his PlayStation and he would basically just barricade in his room. Like you'd forget that he even existed. If he had to piss, you would literally hear him run to the bathroom and run back. He would like not eat if he didn't remind, it wouldn't shower. And it was like bad. And I was like, okay, can't do this anymore. That was, a while back. And then he got out of that. And then I finally got him his first phone because he was doing ROTC and stuff like that. And, he was traveling and we needed to keep a hold of him while he was on these trips and stuff. And I didn't want to give him a smartphone. I wanted just a simple, like little flip phone. They don't even fucking sell those hardly anymore in the Verizons and stuff. You have to go buy the little pay as you go.
Gotta buy the senior citizen ones with the
they have one model for old people. Yeah.
I just wanted him to be able to talk and text and I didn't have a choice. I said, fuck it, fine, whatever. So we got him a little cheap iPhone that was free. And just I exactly what I knew was going to happen. Just got sucked into it, and just before I knew it, 24/7.
Yeah,
just doing that. If he was walking around the house, walking around like this. If we're on a trip, we're at a restaurant. If we're at families out like this, and he stopped coming out of his room, stopped hanging out with family, and so he fucked up a couple of weeks ago, and I yanked his phone from him. And dude, just in a couple of days of not having that, just starting to like come downstairs and be friendlier with his sisters and be a really good older brother and get chores done and reading books and stuff. And I'm like, dude, it's insane how just turning that switch off, just fucking, okay. It's like unzombie mode.
Yeah.
And it's scary for him. I
scared the fuck out of me that one night when I went downstairs to get a drink. Dude, it was like a jump scare. He was just standing by the fridge and I was like,
you're right.
Am I?
He does that weird shit where I about punched his ass one time. I was like, dude, make your fucking presence known. Say hello, breathe, something. Like he just ninjas his way into the room and like you could just catch him in your peripheral. What the fuck?
He was just standing there and I was waiting for like some sort of fucking smile or some weird shit to happen. I'm like, why aren't you moving?
But yeah, I get nervous for him if he gets older. Like, what is that addictive personality going to attach to if it's not technology? Hopefully, he's smarter than that. But yeah, I've never seen a kid get addicted to technology the way that he does, to where you literally have to detox it like a drug. Like, nope, no phone for however much. And when I give it back to him, I'm gonna have to limit it now. Like, you can have it for an hour after school. You can talk to your friends, and then it's fucking mine.
Yeah. But, I mean, we've seen those videos where like parents take away their toys or their game or phone and they're trashing the room and freaking out.
Oh, fuck no.
Yeah, I would. Any Latino family is that's not gonna fucking fly. No. But again, they're hooked, and it's crazy, man. Even me, like ever since, like I was always prided myself that I can put my phone away for a few hours. But ever since I blew up on TikTok, I caught myself. I'm in the shower watching videos, and I'm like, what the fuck am I doing, man?
I usually have something playing for audio in the shower. Yeah, so I'm halfway there.
A podcast or something like that, listening to it. But I'm in my shower, and I'm like, what the hell's wrong with me? And now I'm at the point where it's weird because when my fiance comes over, she can put me to sleep. Her next to me, I'm at peace and I knock out. But when I'm not with her, I watch this YouTube channel, Mermaid Whispers. It's a woman. She's beautiful. Yeah. But she's talking. She doesn't do the sounds. She just talks. And her voice puts me to sleep. Like there's one video I watch all the time. I'm halfway in and she puts me to sleep. And that's the only way I can sleep.
That's like Michael C. Hall for me.
Really?
It's like cooking channels for me. Unless I'm really hungry, then it fucks me up and I'm up later. I'm like, I want to eat something, but it's 2 a.m.
Oh, dude.
Yeah.
Or you put something on that by heart. And then like you're like, yeah, I'll fall asleep to this. And then next thing you know, 45 minutes in, you're like, oh, I can't wait till this part comes.
Yeah,
like, what am I doing?
Exactly.
I've wasted an hour.
I put on Fast Times at Ridgemont High one time just to kind of have something just kind of mindless to watch I haven't seen in a long time. And I'm an hour into the movie and I'm just sitting there as wide awake as possible. Like, oh yeah, this is where the swimsuit thing's going to come on, where she gets out the pool. And I look over to my left and my fucking wife's awake watching the damn movie too. I was like, oh, it's got you.
No.
Go to sleep for this next part.
Don't look at me.
Yeah.
Phoebe Cates, man, that scene was. It still is epic, man. God damn, she was hot.
Yeah. All the
But,
VHS tapes were fucked up in that spot from all the pausing.
Yeah, even when you pause, it was staticky. You couldn't get a clear shot nowadays. You kids are so like nice and so privileged.
There's a really cool, interesting documentary on Hulu about sex in cinema. I only recommend it because it's a documentary and they show you all the scenes in question. So if you want to get your rocks off,
I think I've already seen it already.
And I find it fascinating because, you know, why have there never been, you know, why don't women watch movies for guys? And it just isn't a thing.
Women prefer reading pornography, like you know, the novels at the checkout store. Those were big for a while.
Oh yeah, my ex
Shades of
read
Grey.
some weird shit.
Yeah,
Her
They like
gateway
the-
drug was Twilight, and then next thing I know, it was like fucking J.R. Ward or whatever the fuck,
Mhm.
and it was like about vampire people who were like banging demons and lizards, and it's just like, this is hot, is it?
Yeah,
Okay.
in a weird, like to turn on a guy it's with our eyes, but the woman it's with their mind. Like they have to read the fantasy and get all that.
You know, it repelled
funny.
me. I was like, this is weird.
All right. Well, hey, let me end the podcast right now. We can hang out for
No.
a minute after, but I'm like, it's like 11:30 here, man. But
End tape now.
end
Part
tape
6.
now. And thank you for listening. I'll cut it and do all those other things. So good night, everybody.
Totally.